Hello and welcome to the Rage Select Podcast. I am Jeff.
I'm Aaron.
Aaron!
Finally.
Aaron is back.
I'm
Ladies
back.
and gentlemen. Aaron, I think I'm going to ask you the question that has been on everybody's mind these long few weeks. Why did Jeff fire you, and what is that asshole's problem? Is he a racist, or is he just a terrible human being, or
there was no.
Did you kick his ass at Destiny, and then he was like, "Oh no, fuck you," or you like, "I go to Dark Souls"? I mean, any one of the character
was
flaws.
Squatting after I shot him, and he thought I was teabagging him.
That's
like it just went downhill from there. But no,
mistake.
I've been extremely busy. And I wish I would be like, oh, because it's life. It's like, no, it's like my job.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I had to take a couple of personal weeks and months off. No, I was like, I've been working my ass off, and so but yes, I am back for today.
At the very least,
I am here right now.
Yeah,
I am here right now.
Yep.
And, but yeah, and so I appreciate it as well to all you Rage Selectians or whatever you guys want to call yourselves, because I'm not saying the all hail thing that you guys do.
I call them the Ragers and Ragettes, but we've also bandied around with the select few. But
select few.
I
like that.
It rolls. It's pretty good. I mean,
pretty good. Give shout outs to all of you. Shout out to Alex.
Okay,
I don't know your last name, but you stopped me while you were in line for the Ruby video game at RTX this past weekend. So shout out to you, man. So thanks for recognizing me. And it wasn't that I to throw a little racist joke in there. It's not that hard. I was like one of 3 black dudes walking around.
All of RTX.
All of RTX. So.
You got the full Rockstar treatment of RTX, right?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
VIP.
Yeah, because I don't know if many of you know, I helped out with the fight choreography and motion capturing for this season of Red versus Blue.
Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty freaking sweet. Especially because I really didn't know Rooster Teeth was here.
Oh, in Austin?
It's like you hear the name and you're like, oh yeah, and like I'm so accustomed with like people being like, oh, that's in LA or that's in New York and stuff, and then it's like, I went on an audition for Laser Team when it was casting, and they're like, yeah, come to the Rooster Teeth office, and I'm like, where's that?
Right.
And they're like, oh, it's over off of 51st, and I'm like,
yeah, the old airport,
gosh.
right?
It's right under my nose. And then so getting involved with all those guys, it was really awesome, especially with the Red versus Blue, because like I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
I don't like Halo, but I sure as hell love fighting. Mm-hmm. And put me in some Master Chief armor. I don't give a shit.
Did you wear Master Teeth armor? Master Teeth. That's the guy, right? Master Teeth of the electric, electric boogaloo.
Yeah. But no. We wore those very lovingly snug motion capturing
with the balls on them.
On it.
Did you do face?
No, we
just
didn't.
Body?
We did just body. We didn't do face. They did face for other aspects of the show, and for like the actual like actors that were like voicing some of the characters. They did some of that, not all of it, but some of it. But yeah, it was awesome being in there.
I'm going to say I stopped. There was a point, and I maybe need to go back. Like I've gone back and binge watched Red versus Blue a few times. And like I really liked Red versus Blue in the beginning when it was just stupid,
right?
Like helmet going up and down type of stuff. And like there was a certain point around like where they stopped even having like seasons when it was like Red versus
volumes.
Blue.
Yeah, it turned into volumes.
Well, and then it had like some kind of subtitle, Red versus Blue: Age of Extinction or whatever, right? And it was like suddenly it was all super serious half the time.
It got pretty serious, yeah.
And I was just like, I want to hear Caboose be an idiot. That's what I like.
Well, it's cool because like going into the project, I didn't really know that much about it because, like I said, I'm not a fan of Halo. It was on the Xbox.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, well, you got to, as any smart person going into a project that you don't know something about, you research.
Right.
And so I literally binged watched every season / volume of Red versus Blue so I could know these characters and everything like that, because we're gonna have to be these characters and like physically and fight and do all this other stuff.
Is this the first season where they've done motion capture instead of just animating through the engine?
No, they would do motion capturing every now and then, but the way they would do it, man, they'd get an animator in like the outfit, and then they'd like throw a punch, and then they'd go record the punch, and then they'd come back and then they like do the reaction, and they re-record the reaction, and so it'd be like 1 or 2, maybe 3 people tops in there who are slaving over this, literally slaving over this, doing extra work. Just, and like for me, I was just like, man, I commend them on that, because that just shows like how much they love it and how hard they're working for it. But then this season, they even said it. They were just like, you know, we wanted to up the ante because we wanted to do stuff that they physically can't do.
Yeah.
And so they like called in Carmichael Simon, and he brought myself in and this other guy, Donald Brooks, and Chad Cannon, and we're all martial artists of various disciplines and various expertise levels. Or I can't. Well, we're all fucking experts, but we all have our own specialties. And Carmichael got us in there, and we basically blew their fucking minds away. And
cool.
Loved doing it every single time we were in there.
I mean, I can say that that it from like a spectacle perspective, right? I think that the most impressive thing, just like kind of being blown out of the water, was the season of Red versus Blue, when they first got Monio in there to do because it's just going along as regular old Red versus Blue, and then suddenly it just goes berserk.
You get kicked in the mouth.
And you're just like, this is better than any cutscene I've ever seen in any video game ever.
And they got some guys over there who are like passionate about stuff, and that's the one thing we wanted to do. We wanted to either come in at that same level and then go up from there. But it was a good thing that when we came in, it's the whole thing, and it's in the world of physical movement and activity, and especially like in fight choreography and stunt stuff, especially to people who aren't accustomed to it every single day. And it's weird to say that, like, I was like, I think about fight choreography all the time. Well, I think about fight choreography all the time. I was like, what does that mean? It was like, I'm 99% of the time I'm fake beating somebody up or getting beat up in my head. That's what's going on. So like a lot of people sometimes are like, Aaron's frustrated. I'm like, no, I'm trying to figure out how I can like hook kick home dude in the face. And they're like, what? I'm like, don't worry about it.
I'm not going to.
Leave me alone.
I'm not going to.
Leave me alone. Yeah. Or I'll be random with like, it's a really good friend of mine. I'll be like, here, grab my arm. And they're like, no. I'm like, no, just grab my arm real quick. I need you to see something. Now turn it this way. Yeah, that's going to work. And they're like, okay, all right. But like going in there is like, it was one of those things where I say we because like Carmichael really like let us like gel with this like as a team, but he'd come up with the concept of the fight, and then he'd like have us run through it, and then we'd be like, oh well, I can do this at this point, or Chad can do this crazy flip, and Aaron can like, you know, fall or do a flip or do something over here. And so it's like we went in there and they're like, okay, show us what you got. Because they'd be like, here's the script, here's the points of action.
Right. Go. Okay.
Yeah, and so we'd go one day out of the weekend, we'd meet up for 6 hours, run through it, and then they're like, okay, we're going to go in on Thursday and show them what's up. And so we go in on Thursday, and they're like walking around doing God knows what else they have going on at Rooster Teeth because they have so much stuff. And then like taking like, I got a meeting after this, so like you guys go ahead and show me what you got. And then we like show them what we got, and they're like, I don't want to go to my meeting. I want to stay here and watch you guys do this crazy stuff. Because then they just be like, yeah. But some of the stuff they'd be like, we can't do that because the system won't be able to pick that up.
Oh, okay.
And so, and that was the other thing. We actually came in there with the wanting to break the system.
Mm-hmm.
And because like, you know, and like Carmichael said this on the panel, it's just like, we grew up with like Street Fighter and all these other games and like wanting to do like the flash kicks and throw fireballs and do like the hurricane kicks and stuff like that. Can't throw fireballs yet. I'm working on it.
Hurricane kick isn't really
I can pull up a video for you.
Oh, okay, all right. I was about to
it's
say.
not like the crazy rotation.
Right.
It's like he did the light kick version of it.
Oh, okay.
So
Like
it's
one rotation.
Two.
What,
He gives you two.
You get to
two
Okay.
rotations.
All right.
And so like, but like that was what we wanted to do now, because like where technology is, we can all do in the world of fight choreography, it's becoming bigger. And
Right.
so us as the physical performers, we're pushing ourselves and we're trying to like better our skills. That way they don't have to go to a computer and say, oh, I can fix that in post.
Right.
It just, all they'd have to do literally is like, well, we can just clean it up and make it to where you actually hit the guy, because we, a lot of times we weren't hitting each other. Sometimes we had to eat it. So it's like, just to like make the shot work, it's just like, man, just give me my chest, go for it. Let's go, get it. And so, but yeah, and so it's like we just like it was an awesome thing, and like the Rockstar status was there. It was just really, really crazy, and I enjoyed every bit of it. And I just realized like how huge a following all of everything, Rachel, like Rooster Teeth, everything, like, because like I'm at this convention and people are like, dude, you're on Rachel. I'm like, what? Not many people know that, but okay.
Yeah,
because I'm getting people shouting me out on Instagram and Twitter, and I'm just like, what's up? Hey, that's awesome. Thanks, guys.
You've managed to successfully do something that I've tried to do for years, which is brush up against Rooster Teeth. And you just like what I knew people who were like, they were like people who worked like admin jobs over at Rooster Teeth that were getting like tons of followers. People that were friends with other people who they were talking about in like their personal life, and then would get this influx of, I mean, I expect, I no longer will accept friend requests on Facebook, because I'm just like, look, man, you don't want to be friends with me on Facebook, all right? There's nothing there. I just use it to stalk other people and go to parties and stuff.
Hey,
I mean,
I use it to stalk people.
Yeah,
I'm a professional creeper.
Professional Facebook stalker.
I'm just a creeper in general. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
Well, I still to this day haven't gotten over the hump of like, why doesn't anybody care what I'm having for dinner?
Right.
Like, this is a lovely pork chop. It's the most beautiful pork chop I've ever seen. There's no part of my brain.
Pork chop.
No part of my brain is going, take a picture of that. People want to see it.
Right.
And I don't even I don't judge other people. It's just that my brain can't muster up the idea that anybody gives a shit about what my pork chop looks like. Right. So
I'm a frequent person who takes pictures of their food, and the one thing I found out that works the best is the portion of it. So you have to like post something that's really extravagant that people will be like, this is the last photo Aaron's ever going to post, because he's going to have a heart attack. And so it's one of those things, especially like when I'm on vacation, if I'm eating I came from LA.
Yep.
Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles.
Yep.
That
was kind of half of. I mean, half of what you posted when you were in Los Angeles was just pictures of food. It was just like, that looks delicious.
I love to eat. I went to Pink's Hot Dogs on National Hot Dog Day. Yeah, I'm going to post a picture of my bacon chili cheese hot dog.
Can you believe those motherfuckers at Wiener Schnitzel didn't do anything on National Hot Dog Day?
Because they know no one eats their shit.
Jason does.
Oh, Jason.
Jason does.
We got to talk, Jay. We got to talk, man.
Well, let's see. I guess before we move on, I mean, we've got a weird selection of news. I got a couple things before we move on, but was there anything in particular from LA that you feel that what were you? Are you just vacationing? Like,
it was my birthday weekend.
Okay.
And
were you only there for a week?
I was there from like 4 or 5 days.
Oh, okay.
So it was almost. It felt longer, right?
Yeah, I think it's just because you and I have had so many somebody just like, can you do this on Thursday? I can't do it on Thursday. Okay, right. That like I was just like, man, Aaron's been in LA for a long time.
Been there for 2 months. Jeez. But no, it was my birthday weekend, and my best friend lives out there, and also my fiance had never visited the West Coast, and so I was just like, hey, this might be a place where we potentially live. So I was just like, let's go and hang out. And like my best friend, him and his wife are like well established out there, got a house, 2 cars, all that. And so like they let us borrow a car.
Wow.
Like, yeah, it was like awesome.
Wow.
And I would say that I was like a complete I like what you guys need to understand. Yes, I like people see me and they're like, "Oh, Aaron's so tough." No. One, I have a fear of spiders. Two, I have a fear of flying.
This is also true.
And heights. And then I also have a fear of tight spaces, which claustrophobia or being bound up. Like if you tie me up, I'm fucking hulking out and I'm murdering you. That's all that's gonna happen. But anyway.
It's like, why do you play video games? Those are like some of the staples.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the flying spider level, and then we're gonna crawl through these ducks for an hour and a half.
Uncharted 3?
Yeah.
Fuck that, man. I was like, can I get through this level with my eyes closed because this is terrible?
I'll show you the bloodborne spiders.
So like they let us like go around and stuff, and like I had to drop my best friend off at work, and I'm like driving in, like after he drove to his work, and then I have to drive back to his house, and I'm like, GPS, okay, I got the address, I'm going. On the freeway, LA traffic, and like this. Whoa! This is my thing. I was just like, Mopac's worse. I was saying that in my head. I was like, Mopac is worse. The slowest we're going is 60.
Right.
But there's like 20,000 people on the road who are all looking at their cell phones. So I was just like, I'm gonna die. But then I got a call from a director here in Austin on a film that I'm working on. And I was just like, this is the most professional I feel right now. And she was like, what do you mean? I was just like, I'm driving in LA on the phone with the director talking about a film. I'm just gonna bask in this for a little bit. So we might just be talking about nothing in a little while after we finish talking about business. So I could just be like, I'm on the phone with the director in LA talking about work.
Nice.
And I was just like tooting my own little horn, and I was just like, this is awesome. But yeah, and like I told this to you before, Jeff, and I told my fiance, I was like, this was the first time, because this was the third time I'd been to LA. First time was just to like visit the place, and I was out there for like 3 days. Second time, my best friend was getting married, so I was in the wedding, and this time it was just completely for pleasure.
Right.
And this was the first time I didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, because I never experienced that moment of like,
what it would just be like to just be in LA with anything to do and just drive around and hang out and stuff.
So I was like, because like I was like, there were times where like we were being tourists, went to Universal Studios and stuff like that. But then there were times where it was just like, we're just bored, we're just hanging out at the house, and I was like, this is awesome, I like it. But yeah, in LA, it was I got to see my first WWE wrestling match.
Nice.
Freaking sweet. I got to meet up with some individuals that truly inspire me in all the martial arts fight stuff that I do. More shout outs: Vlad Rimberg, Emmanuel Manzanares, Jerry Quill, Brian Sloyer. I know you guys don't listen to Rage Select, but people need to know your name. People need to search for you on YouTube and be blown the fuck away.
All right.
Plain and simple. But other than that, man, I ate a lot. It was really good. Delicious. But it was just been a lot of fun, and that meeting with those four guys ended up kind of being like business. So it was just like, I'm here for pleasure, but I got a little business going on. This is pretty awesome. I'm in LA. And if you haven't eaten Korean barbecue yet, go.
I have.
Oh my gosh.
It's good. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And like grill in front of you, cooking as soon as I landed back here in Austin, I was just like, yelp.
Yep.
I need some Korean barbecue ASAP. And so I'm still on the hunt. I think I've got like 2 places on the list that I need to visit, but oh my gosh. So good.
Okay.
So good. Fat kid.
Well, let's see. Before we jump over to news, I did want to say that last week there's a bunch of people that were in town for RTX, and I think we were double toasted and everything. I don't know. There were some people that I know that used to be fans back in the old days, and they were in town. I'm just like, oh yeah, guys, you here for RTX? And they're like, no. Like, you here for the other party? And they're like, no. I'm like, so you just came to Austin at the hottest point of our entire year, man, where it's just balls. It's all balls all the time in this town.
For real.
And like, yeah. So last Friday, I went down and hung out with, it was probably like 20 or 30 people who came by to the bar with Jason and I and a bunch of the regular people. And so like I met, it's funny because some of the guys that came down there were these 2 guys. I'm sorry, guys. They both friended me on Facebook. I need to accept the request because we met them when we at the LA meetup when Jason and I went to E3.
Okay.
And they were two of the guys that took us around to a bunch of bars, which was the night where I got apocalyptically drunk and then just like stomped off. I got real mad at one point. And I was just like, I'm going back to the house, and just turned around and just started walking down the LA streets to go back home because, you know, I'm a white man and I don't have to
do. Yeah, that's what you do.
You just wander down the street with eight Jaeger bombs in you, just like, fucking man. Fuck it. They're just like, oh, that homeless guy has a pretty clean shirt on. So yeah, that was really fun, and then I got to hang out with some more folks over at John Rubio's birthday party last week, and that was great.
John Rubio.
Yep. He turned 40, and Kayla just went off,
decked it out.
Yep, it was incredible.
I follow her on Instagram and Facebook and everything. Yes, I stalk you, Kayla. I said it.
She made. I mean, for those of you who don't follow Kayla Cromer, she made a custom painted Russian nesting doll that was John Rubio's head on the outside, her head in the one in that, and then their dog in the one in the middle.
Yeah.
And like they look just, I mean, you look at those and just be like, oh, that's Kayla.
Girls got
Rubio
skills.
and hi. Yeah, it was amazing.
Crafting skills.
It was amazing.
Legendary.
So yeah, and then I had my so. For the last week, I haven't really talked about this on the show, but my friend Aaron was staying with me. Who I've talked about on the show before, who's a terrible alcoholic, who's just terrible. And he was looking for a place, so he was like sleeping on my couch, and I don't know why I bring that up. It's like anything happened. He was just really drunk the entire time. He'd just go pass out on my couch and then wake up and get drunk and then pass out again. But you know what? Before we get into the news, there is one last thing that I want to address with everybody. And Aaron and I have actually been watching it the entire time that we played, or that we've been doing this podcast. And this is Twitch Plays Dark Souls, which probably not. You probably shouldn't. If you're if you're a fan of Souls,
if you're cleaning your house and you just need some background stuff,
they've been going for 20 hours now.
Oh, and he's died 3 times already.
Oh no! Since we've been recording, right?
He's died 3 times.
They've barely managed to get they haven't gotten to the first boss yet. They're just having a lot of very severe troubles. They've managed to make a little bit of progress, but at this rate, if they've been going for 20 hours, they haven't even gotten to an enemy that's really aggressive yet in the game.
He doesn't know. I don't know who's playing. They're in the same room. They keep drinking from the flask.
Yep.
And there's that black separation crystal.
Yep.
Don't use it.
Yep. Well, no, that doesn't. It doesn't do anything. Like they can't. But But in any case, here's the thing. I want everybody. Honestly, if you listen to Rage Select, right, whether you're a Dark Souls fan or not, I want you to go watch this stream. And I want you to watch it until the rage within you at seeing this game that's being played by a bunch of people in a chat box goes away. Yep. Because I've been watching the chat for this, and it's just like there's so many people. Why? This is stupid. You're never going to get anywhere. Stop watching it. Nobody's got a gun to your head. Nobody's forcing you to watch it.
This guy said, "Oh, we're still here. I'm relieved."
Yeah,
I can read sarcasm. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and they're not going to make any progress. They might manage to brute force their way in a few days through the next 2 or 3 enemies before they die. They're probably going to be in here forever. I was telling you, there are cliffs on both sides of the area.
Gone.
Yeah, you're gonna die.
Yeah. This guy just said this is like a bad drug trip.
Yeah. There's also like a 30-second lag apparently between when they chat and when it actually makes the thing happen, so they can't even react to it in real time.
Have we gotten the key yet?
No. No,
So when Twitch thought this was a good idea,
someone just set this thing up. They got the whole what commands are going to make you do what, and So honestly, I feel like this is very important because I feel like people get sometimes, Aaron. I feel like people I understand that I'm not everybody, and that everybody isn't me, and that it's not reasonable to expect everybody to act like you, right?
Yeah.
But there are people who get unreasonably upset at people playing video games poorly.
You know what I say to those people?
What's that?
That they must have the best life in the world.
Why is that?
Because if this is what's bringing out this rage and just how they upset they are at this one person's play style.
Yeah.
Nothing else is wrong in the world with them.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
Yep. Yep.
Video games are the problem.
What I'm going to say is I'm going to ask all of you watching Rage Select to go watch this, and eventually, at first you might be angry, or it may be funny, and then it may make you very angry, or it may make you laugh in the opposite direction, or whatever.
It'll make you laugh, but there will be laughter.
Eventually, you're going to have to just, like, if you keep watching this, you're going to eventually have to kind of just calm the shit down and be like, this isn't me playing this game. It's a great idea, though, because, you know, as you goddamn well know, people that play Dark Souls are...
This guy just said, truly, we are the chosen undead.
Yep. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Anyway, it doesn't really matter because, one of two things is going to happen. Either the stream is going to get shut down, or they're going to manage to brute force their way through somewhere.
Something.
Or enough people are going to stop watching and get bored,
And then
that you're only going to have a group of people left who can actually try to play the game.
Yeah.
In any case, I highly recommend that everybody go check it out.
Do it.
I think that it's 20
20 hours in.
20 hours. Yep. And
Why am I watching?
I just keep it. I just keep it up. I just keep it up in the background. But nope. Now it is time for the news, and it's a weird bunch of news this week, Aaron.
Awesome.
Nothing big happened. So
Of course not.
but to start with, a few weeks ago, Capcom asked people, because Capcom doesn't know what to do anymore. They're just completely.
Yeah.
Oh.
They're like, shit, man, we got another Street Fighter coming out. We can't do Marvel versus Capcom anymore.
At least they're not. At least they're not. I mean, like, boy. Just before we get started here, on as a side note, I think Konami has lost their goddamn minds. I think they've just gone crazy.
Correct.
Like I don't even know. I don't even know.
They don't even know.
Yeah, they don't even know.
They really don't.
Anyway, so a few weeks ago, Capcom asked people, "Hey, you remember Resident Evil HD that we put out on the PlayStation 4 and I think the Xbox One as well, right?
I think so.
Do you guys want to see Resident Evil 2 HD?" And apparently enough people said yes, that they're totally making Resident Evil 2 HD, which I think is actually way better. I mean, I like Resident Evil 1, but Resident Evil 1 is more of a puzzle game.
Yeah.
And Resident Evil 2 is more of an action.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a thriller.
yeah. It's got more characters, and it's more interesting. It's got the whole city on fire and stuff. And I think the last time that we saw Resident Evil 2 was in Operation Raccoon City, right? That was all took place during Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
But at PS3 graphics and stuff.
But it was a third-person action shooter that was terrible.
I didn't think it was all that bad personally, but
I thought it was a good spin on the series. I also loved it because, just self-plug, I did a live-action short about it. Anyway, but
we could just assume you've done a live-action short about everything. Right?
Almost, you'd be surprised. I did a live-action short with Max Payne 3.
Oh, there you go.
People don't know that one.
There you
I didn't
go.
play a huge role, but I was in it, and it was pretty awesome. But I'm happy about this because, like, I was a fan of Resident Evil 2, so that's the first one didn't hook me because I'm not a huge, like, third person, like, puzzle thing, and plus I like to shoot. I want to shoot. It's like a zombie, shoot it, kick it.
Right.
And so, like, Resident Evil 4 was my jam.
Yeah.
that was my jam. But 2, that's, like, for me, is when it was just like, all right, I'm gonna pay attention to this series. And so, and I just want that guy's shirt. The shirt I'm looking at, it says, "We do it." God, I love Japan.
Yeah. So they announced that, and I think it's great. I mean, I think that, in all honesty, if people want to spend time doing weird, funky HD upreses of things,
Go
stuff
for
like
it.
OG Resident Evil is great. Just do it.
Red Dog, Red Dead, Red Dead.
That's never going to happen, Aaron. Never going to happen.
Red Dead.
Never going to happen. I mean, I want it to happen as much as the next person, right? Because if they put Red Dead out on the PC,
Can we just have a Rockstar collection, please?
like the rare?
Yeah, like the rare. Just have a Rockstar collection, please.
I just wanted to put Red Dead Redemption out on the PC so that we can rip the John
freaking
Marsden
mods.
asset out of it and put it into every other game that Rage Select plays from now on. because like did you see the story that was a while back? I put this in like the first Ragecast, right, where John Marsden is in Grand Theft Auto 5.
I saw. I didn't read it, but I read. I saw something about that.
It's when you go to GTA Online and you randomize the parents. Sometimes John Marsden comes up as the father, right? So it's got a picture of him, and he's like sitting there, and it's a 2T shot for those people who know what that is. So it's like the tops of his arms and his torso up to about mid belly, and he's standing there, right? Well, when it came out on the PC, they found out that asset was in the game, but that's all there is. There's no arms, there's no pelvis, and there's no legs.
Oh my god!
So there's actually a bunch of screenshots of just this like half a John Marsden kind of walking through the desert, because you can map that model onto the game and then go out to the desert in GTA 5 and walk around like you're in Red Dead.
Oh man!
Except it doesn't have any arms and fucking legs. So,
that's pretty awesome though.
Anyway. Next up, something that I know is near and dear to your heart, Aaron, and is Crackdown 3.
God damn it.
That you're totally and completely ready for. So during Gamescom last week, they announced that they're going to have this hugely destructible multiplayer mode where everything blows up real nice and you got all the things. And it's only possible with the power of the cloud computing, right?
Right.
Well, there was a report this week where they kind of clarified by saying that, like, so what that means is that if you've got a really shitty internet connection, then we can't get all the debris back to you.
Yeah.
Which brings up a question that I don't know outside of like PlayStation Now and who's the other guys that did that a long time ago? That they sold their own OnLive.
OnLive, yeah.
Right. Is that means that when you play multiplayer Crackdown 3, your quality of internet connection is going to affect your quality of game directly.
Yep.
And is that and so I read this story and I brought it up because I thought it was an incredibly interesting question about, like, I know that gamers a lot of times tend to be very much, very centered around, if you show me a trailer of your video game, then when I get to play your video game, it better look like the goddamn trailer.
Yeah.
Right? And it's Colonial Marines.
Or better.
Right. Watch Dogs with the way that they bump that down. There's a lot of examples of this, right?
Yeah.
Well, here, it's the way that they've engineered this, it's like it's your fault that it doesn't look that good.
And I'll tell you this right now, people, if you're buying internet, when they talk to you and they're like, so what do you plan on doing, like streaming movies and gaming? And it's like, yeah, and then they say they have a tier just for that, go one above it.
Oh, well,
because the tier for gaming is shit.
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder if this is, because as near as I can tell, okay, let me see if I can remember here. In the Xbox One, they were going to be using the cloud computing for a few things, right? They were going to be using it for the drivatars in Forza, right?
Drivatars.
Which ended up being a complete shit show to begin with, right? But there were a few other places they were supposed to be using it for like additional computation power. But it seems dangerous, right? Because anybody that's got a shitty internet connection, you can't rely on that. It's not an asset that you can say is there. Or, I mean, I guess like Microsoft's building up a fair amount of goodwill and some momentum that I'm hoping that they get a better foothold in 2016. Because as I've always said, I want PlayStation and I want Microsoft and Sony just knife fighting in an alley for my dollar, every dollar I have, right? But like, I would just hate it if it's almost one of those things where you would have to use it like purely for really extra cosmetic things that if they weren't there really weren't going to impact your gameplay experience all that much.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, what do you think? I mean, I'm just trying to think of a good way to spin that when
for me, when they said that, I literally went, huh? Because in my head, I'm thinking, like, basic, all it is destructible environments.
Right.
That's all it is. But because it's Crackdown and it's the city that we're so used to and they've made it so massive now that they have to find a new way to do something, and they're like, if you got a good... And so in my head, like, with Just Cause 3 that's coming out, I'm like,
that doesn't require cloud
anything.
computing.
Yeah, and that's some of I know you've seen the trailer.
Oh yeah.
And like I've never played Just Cause before. I pre-ordered it as soon as it got announced because my Game Informer told me some stuff. And then at Gamescom, no, even at E3, I think they showed a little bit of something at E3.
It was at the Square conference at E3, yeah.
And then at Gamescom, they showed even more. And I was just like, hang on. He's riding on a jet, latched to a boat with a Jeep flying behind it, but then he's going to hook it up to a helicopter and he's going to send it at this refinery. And boom.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is just like, we're doing this because we don't know. My answer is I don't understand it. I really don't.
I mean, I guess I can see it as an interesting gimmick, but like, it's, you know what? It's not that hard to understand. I know exactly what they're doing. They're trying to use the stuff with the best of intentions at heart.
Right.
What they're not expecting is that the first time that a story comes out about that has a GIF, whatever the fuck you want it to be, that's a comparison between what the same multiplayer shot looks like on a shitty connection and a good connection. Well, then you're fucked, man. Like,
because even I'm looking at this sentence right here that's right in front of my face. It says, making sure you can all gawk at the same catastrophe is going to be crucial for making Crackdown feel right with friends.
Yep.
That is a horrible statement because like, seriously, before I even read that sentence, when you were saying this, I had this whole little like scene play in my head of like, you know, 4 friends playing at their different houses, and 3 of them are going like, holy shit, did you see that building blow up? And then one guy being like, it's like I joked about it the other day. One guy being like, oh man, you blew out the window.
Yeah.
It's like, no, the building's falling. I don't see that.
Yeah. I mean, it's such an interesting idea. I think that even when you're looking at like streaming, playing like with PlayStation Now, what you're getting back is still a full frame, right? It's not like you know what? Maybe it's going to be fine. I know that I equivocate like this all the time, but like maybe it's going to be fine and it's not going to be that big a deal. But what I need is that comparison GIF of like what does it look like when you're on fucking dial-up and you're playing Crackdown 3,
but
right?
they don't want to show you.
They don't want to show you.
You're not going to get that until like either someone leaks it or
the game comes out.
Game comes out.
Yeah.
Or because you better get it because you have Xbox One. That's all I'm saying.
It's not till next year, Aaron.
Shut up, Joe.
There's a Christmas in between.
Shut up, Joe.
Who knows? You Santas, you've been very good this year.
Crackdown is Christmas.
All right. Well, from here we got a series of trailers. The first one, and I just want to preface this by saying, okay, so a couple of weeks ago, Aaron, as you goddamn well know, and were you in town? I don't think you were in town when the Street Fighter V beta debacle went down.
Yes, I was.
Did you? And you did pre-order Street Fighter? Oh my God, his face has just turned to stone, ladies and gentlemen.
I pre-ordered Street Fighter V.
Right.
I pre-ordered it from GameStop, as I always, where I pre-order all of my games. Well, not all of them. I got couple on Amazon. Anyway, beside the point.
Yeah.
Pre-ordered. I didn't get my code.
Okay.
So I was just like, the beta's coming out. Like, I had friends getting their beta from Amazon on the 22nd.
Okay.
And so I was just like, well, the beta goes live on the 23rd. So I'm like, I need my shit.
Right.
I need it because I was leaving on the 24th.
Right.
And I was like, I need to get all the Street Fighter I can because I'm going to L.A. and I know there's a lot of professional gamers there. I might run into one and be like, hey, man, take me back to your house so I can play some Street Fighter. Whatever. And so I go to GameStop. They give me a replacement code. I'm like, hallelujah, go home, download it, boom, it's there on my XMD. And I'm like, I'm ready. Midnight comes, and I'm just waiting. I'm waiting to get the email say, like, the beta's live.
Right.
Beta's live. Get up. Can't connect. I'm like, it's a beta.
It's a beta. It's fine. It's fine.
It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah.
Everything's good. Calm down, people. Told my dog. My dog's name is Denzel Washington. I said, Denzel, sit. Calm down. Because he was just like, why is he getting all hyped up? And I'm like, woo.
Is he trying to help you?
Had the joystick ready. It was in my lap because he was like, what is that? What is it? What is that? I'm like, back up. Get away from the joystick. So 12 more times after that is when the frustration started to get set in because I'm like, I'm getting nowhere. I'm getting nowhere. Now I have to go to the interwebs.
Right.
See what people are saying. Nobody's playing.
Yep.
And then there was like, I was just like, okay, let me go to Twitch, see if anybody's streaming it.
Right.
Nobody's able to stream it.
Yep.
And then I'm thinking like, oh, it's because they probably set it up because they don't want it streamed or something like that. And I was just like, no. They probably would want this blasted throughout the world. I was like, I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to wake up in the morning, and I'm going to try to play it in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Go to sleep, wake up, nothing.
Yep.
Go to Twitch, who's playing? Nobody. I'm like, what's going on?
Well, the question that I put to the people last week, and we got a lot of feedback about this, is that they made the access to the beta a feature for preloading. Pre-ordering, right. So I'm of two minds. There's one mind that's like, it's a beta.
Right.
Betas break. Beta is not the game. You paid for the game. You haven't gotten the game.
Correct.
On the other hand, we got a lot of people who pointed out the same thing that I was pointing out to myself, right? Because I can do both sides. I'm a devil's advocate here, right? Is that you told people that when you pre-order, you're going to get access to a thing, and then you didn't give them access to a thing.
At all.
Right.
And then in the end you say, sorry.
Well, I think, okay, listen, they did say they're having 3 betas, then because this one didn't work, it doesn't count. There's still 3 more betas before the game comes out, etc. But in any case, I was reminded of that because one of the trailers that came out this week was a trailer for the Black Ops 3 beta.
Yeah.
So, and you know, this isn't like a teaser or just some gameplay footage. This is like a fully produced, 8 weapons, 6 maps, blah, 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 be the first, like filming it like it was a Call of Duty 3 trailer, and it is. And it looks great, but I almost feel like we need to, like, beta to me already has implications. Yeah. It already means something. It means that a game can be broken, right?
Oh, that dude's leg came off. Okay,
yep.
Sorry.
Early access to me has implications. This could be pre-alpha. Early access means it could be anywhere from just barely a concept to pretty much the entire game, right?
Right.
But I feel like these things, I feel like in the past you would have seen these things not as a beta. They would have called them a multiplayer test, right? Or something.
Yeah.
But I feel like we need to come up with a terminology that is somewhere between a beta and full game, something that indicates that this is early, but not early access. I mean, fuck, we got so many different...
Call it a headache.
Yeah. I don't know.
Off the top of my head, there have been 2 alphas that I can think of right now without trying to think back in the far off in the past. 2 alphas off the top of my head that were perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Destiny,
and
Rising Thunder.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I had no problems with either one of those.
Mm-hmm.
That was also and here's the thing, because I didn't pre-order Destiny before the alpha came out.
Right.
I played the alpha, and I played it so much and so fluently and so frequently without problem. I was just like, I have to get this game.
Sure.
And the only thing that was available for the alpha was the multiplayer.
I mean, and maybe that's what it is. This is what the game industry has done.
Yeah.
Is that they've made the word beta mean demo, essentially.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. It's a demo. It's a demo.
That's what it is. That it's not that beta should be essentially, because as I understand it, and I could be completely wrong, but as I understand it, alpha, you go from alpha to beta when you're feature complete in game development. And then you go from beta, you go out of beta once you're code complete, and then you're bug bashing, and you're basically getting everything ready to go.
Yeah.
So the thing is that if the code is going to be changing dramatically, maybe depending on the outcome of the beta, then, I mean, that word still applies. But the thing is that if your code is still in a state of flux, you can't guarantee a consumer level launch. You can't, I mean, fucking Diablo 3 couldn't launch correctly, and that was the full game. Yeah. So I almost feel like there just should be something different that these things are called.
I think we should go back to using, you said it, the word demo.
Well,
Because, like, with demos, nothing is promised.
Yep.
Really.
But when you think of demo, you don't think of buggy code. You don't think of pre-production code or anything like that. So, but because here's the thing is that I look at this trailer.
This is the game.
It's fucking slick as shit,
it's the
right?
Game, yeah.
Like, it doesn't look like it's not good. Like, the full game isn't going to look like this. It looks fucking phenomenal.
But here's my thing, though, and this is what I say because, and like, you know, people can hate me all they want, but it's Call of Duty.
Yeah.
This isn't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for saying this for you Call of Duty soldier warriors out there. This isn't anything new. There's new gameplays and new stuff, new guns and stuff like that. But it's the same run around, point and shoot. It's the same hit indicate. The hit marker is the exact same from the first Call of Duty game.
Yeah, I mean,
so there are things in my head that they already have a solid foundation,
right?
And so then all they do is put a completely different filter on it, and then from that filter is when the different like tweaks and bells and whistles gets thrown in there.
Sure.
Because, like, yeah, this is, like, looking at this, I'm like, okay, like, yeah, movement is more fluid. Everything, this is a lot
there's
more
to
natural.
me, it's just, there seems like more gadgets. Less just, like, shooting people with guns.
It's supposed to be future.
Right.
One thing I heard is that you can tell how big of a influence Destiny has had. They
I'm going to tally. The next time we have a podcast, I'm going to bring up a little.
How many times I say Destiny?
Every time you say Destiny, I'm going to put it. And then every time I say
there.
Dark Souls, then I'm going to put it.
We can do it. We can or Metal Gear.
Or Metal Gear. Well, yeah,
it can happen.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I understand. It looks really good. I mean, I'm still to the point. You know what I want? Aaron?
What do you want?
Okay, so people haven't seen it yet, and when this podcast comes out, you have to wait a few days. But for those of you who haven't played it, I want a game that's like Rising Thunder, but for first-person shooters.
That would be sick.
Something that makes so that it's simple enough that I feel like I can play it without having to devote like an endless amount of time to it.
Do you? Here's my thing. Do you think this is going to start being a even more ongoing thing where it's just like pre-order, early beta access?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel it already is.
I know it's been like, you know, it's kind of like being thrown in the face like all day, every day, because I remember I pre-ordered The Division and they're just like, oh, there might be like early like access. And I'm just like, I just want the game. I just want the game.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, you well know my ideas about pre-orders.
Correct.
I'm saying that if you at least get beta access for pre-ordering, for me, that's better than most of the shit that you get for pre-ordering.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
That at least gives you some reason. But
I just wanted to play Street Fighter V. Damn it.
Hey, you know what? So do I. All right. Well, next up we have, and we're gonna probably start putting the foot down on the gas a little bit.
Baby.
First up, we have a commercial because of GameStop's stupid ass video
Ugly
player.
Babies.
This commercial, by the way, before we go in there, I'm sorry, is have you seen this commercial?
I have not.
It's got a bunch of babies, and they're talking about how like this baby will never have to remember a password, and this baby will never have to reset blah 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 because Windows 10 will use their face to log in, and it's just like, don't you see how that's creepy? What you just said to me?
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Windows 10 is going to remember your baby's face.
Forever.
Fucking Skynet, man.
Yeah.
It is Skynet.
So last week, I'm not really sure the context of this. It might have been at Gamescom. It might have been just leaked, but it's on GameSpot. So, but there's some pre-roll for Hellblade, the new Ninja Theory game.
Yes.
Which is about this lady. What's her name? It's like Senua.
Senua.
Okay. And
she has mental illness.
She's crazy.
Yep.
I mean, like not like yo, women are crazy, man,
No,
but like she's actually crazy.
Bonafide.
And you know what? Okay, so here's the thing. There's this. It's about 6 minutes worth of gameplay. And did you watch?
I haven't watched this, but I'm like, I love Ninja Theory, and I'm excited for this game.
Well, I've got the audio turned down, but one of the most interesting things about this is that it appears that they've got these two voices in her head. One that's like a kind of a gravelly, the darkness voice, right? And the other one is like a childlike voice, right? And that the deep gravelly voice is telling her like, you're gonna die, you can't do anything right, blah blah blah. And the other one's like giving helpful advice and stuff, and that they're using that as a way to kind of like show her mental state throughout the world. Like it kind of goes into the way that battle works. So first off, the game looks just really fantastic.
Yeah.
That's something that Ninja Theory has always been pretty goddamn good at. I do have one complaint though, and allow me to just move forward a little bit here.
Go for it.
To where we have our battle sequence, because I don't know what they're going to be. I don't know how the game is going to be, or if they're going to be changing it or whatever. But in this particular B-roll or whatever it is, it looks like just jamming on a button over and over again.
Yeah.
It's not really like there doesn't appear to be a lot of back and forth. It's like she's got a two-handed sword, the enemy's got a two-handed sword. It's just kind of who can jam on the action button faster.
This is like I said, this is my first time seeing this.
Yeah.
This looks like a 13th Warrior.
Yeah. I mean, no, the enemies. I mean, all the visuals and the environments. It's like a dark and stormy night, whatever. It's just when I look at it, I'm like, all I'm seeing here is like horizontal. I'm seeing light attack, heavy attack, and block. Right. And I know Ninja Theory can do better than that because the combat even in Enslaved was better than that. And it was better in Heavenly Sword. Right. So I'm hoping that this is just early stuff that isn't really indicative of what's gonna be going on in the final game.
It's like, like nothing's happening.
Yeah,
it's boring.
It's kind of boring.
Yeah,
it's kind of boring to watch.
That was cool.
In between, there's we have a bunch of stuff of her kind of running around in the world, and the world looks real nice. It is a third-person action game. There's kind of some glimpses to how shitty it could look. Yeah, there is this thing that I found really interesting about this is that at the very end of the trailer, there's this thing where you can see a face that shows up that's like her mother. And you seeing it in the trailer, like there was a part earlier on where she's looking at a bunch of trees, and the way the shadows line up kind of form into this face. But it's also live action as near as I can tell.
Yeah.
Either that or like exceptionally. No, it's got to be live action.
Yeah, that definitely has to be.
But yeah, I think it looks interesting. I'd like to get a little better.
This bitch is crazy. I know that's going to be like my one phrase during the entire game. This bitch is crazy.
Yep. But I think it's interesting. And I don't know. I mean, I think it's worth checking out. What is this? Never mind. I'm not.
Jeff.
Yeah. No, I got my stories.
Time
We've already
for
got
the stupidest game ever.
What's that?
Unravel.
What? What's your problem with Unravel? Aaron, what's your problem? Why don't you like it? It looks like a charming little third person.
The one thing that they said at E3 that I was just like, when is anybody going to remember or like realize this?
What's that?
He's unraveling.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen at the end of the game?
They show. Oh. Okay. Right. Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
Spoilers. I'm sorry.
Well, that aside, I mean,
Sorry. It's beautiful. I'll tell you that. It is gorgeous.
This demo, it's better when this guy can give the demo when he's not just like nervous out of his goddamn mind.
You're useless. You're wet yarn. I'm sorry. I'm very critical. I'm very critical of this.
I really don't understand why you're. It's just like it's a charming little 2D like adventure game, and you're just like, no, fuck that yard bitch, fuck him. But I don't know. I mean, I think this video looks. They talk about all the different kind of It's a puzzle game. There's puzzle mechanics. You can use your yarn to do different stuff. I think it looks really pretty.
Yeah.
I honestly did not know, Aaron, that you had such a problem with Yarny and his ilk in
he's on a suicide mission, Jeff.
He's trying to.
He is that that tragic hero. I guess depending on what the story is about. Because right now he's just walking, killing himself.
Well, you can't just stand around forever. I mean, there's like crows and squirrels and shit that are going to go after him.
Yeah.
The one thing that I found interesting about this, though, is that there's a part where he has this little flotation device that's obviously really heavy, and he ends up using the yarn to like drag it across. Like apparently one little string of yarn can keep this piece of metal suspended in midair.
Because it's him, Jeff.
But-
It's his
okay.
life.
Yeah, whatever. It's life force.
Obviously, he's like the strongest yarn doodle
I don't
in the world.
You know, I don't really. I think Yarny looks charming, but this trailer could end with the person just coming in with a lighter and setting it on fire, and I'd be
Or
like,
just snipping it.
"No,
Or just like,
Yarny, no!"
yeah.
All right, I'm back to playing Dark Souls on Twitch.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Dark Souls is about sad existential crises. I don't really care as much if Yarny happens to bite it by the end of the game. Whatever. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll become president.
Yeah,
Who
you
can
never
say?
know. Trump is running.
Yeah. If Donald Trump can be president, so can
Oh.
Yarny. All right, so next up, we got to talk real briefly about this Time Magazine cover. Have you been following any of this? So Time Magazine had a cover with The Surprising Joy of Virtual Reality with Palmer Luckey jumping up in probably the most undignified pose of all time
For real.
on a beach. And people... I actually somebody was telling me that there were people online who were just like, well, that's it for VR tech. It's like, no, shut up. All right. The Facebook invested how many millions of dollars? They're going to be like, Mark Zuckerberg's not like, oh, man,
Crap.
he looks stupid on the cover of Time. All right, shut it down.
Shut it down, people.
Throw him on incinerator and
All
get
those
back all the money.
billions. Yep. Sorry, everybody
Yep.
else, you're fired. Sorry, go home.
On the other
I like how it
hand,
says in why it's about to change the world.
well, it is.
It's not going to change the world. It's just going to change like the way some people live.
Yeah.
'Cause some people are gonna. I already know some people are gonna lose their goddamn mind. I already have some friends who are just like I'm just gonna walk around with it in my house. I'm like,
No, you're not.
you're going to kill yourself.
No, you can tell your friends as somebody who is on their side who owns a DK2.
Right.
No, you're not. The cable isn't that long. You're not going to do that.
Yeah. It's just, it's,
I don't know. I thought it was funny, and then there's like been a whole thing, of course, because of the internet, where the memes have started of taking this image and then just putting it all over the place. And
I'm gonna have to search it.
I think it's great. All right, so we got a trio, or we got some stories here. The International was last week.
EG.
And for the first time in the International's history, USA, the USA team, the Evil Geniuses, won and got $6.6 million.
I saw the. I didn't see the entire match, but I saw
like a highlight.
It was the moment that.
They won?
Yeah.
I need to go back. I mean,
it was supposed to be. What did they dub it? It was the slam because I guess that's what the character did. It was like the slam that like this. It was like this. It was. I think they said it was like the $6.6 million slam or something. It was,
Okay.
It was something clever.
Yeah,
and I was
works.
like, what is this? And I clicked on it, and it was just like top down computer. I was just like, oh, what? And then it's just like the announcers. They're just like, well, they're British,
Right.
And so I don't. Their terminology was. I don't know.
That's one of the problems with even watching Dota
I don't
is
know
that you're
the
just
Dota
like
terminology, and they were talking so fast, but then they're just like, oh, and they're pinned into a corner, and it was like they EG suckered them in to that corner because then it literally like it went blink, and then like the whole other team was just slaughtered.
Oh yeah,
And then like you heard the crowd go. "Wah!" And I was just like, "Oh, something good happened." What 6 point? What? I need to start becoming a PC gamer.
Well, I was gonna say, I was just about to say, well, Smite is coming to the Xbox One, but it's coming to Xbox One.
One Aegis.
But I need to go back and watch this. I think that in the last few weeks, I think we had, I'm pretty sure that we've come to a point of all the social problems that are out there and the things that need talking about, Aaron. I really think that it's more that I'm glad that one dude left ESPN and that we're finally starting to get this thing where people are like, esports aren't sports. And it's like, no, they are.
They are.
It's always been a team game with skill, and whether that's mental or physical skill, you just get the fuck over it.
And
or
I do believe the last League of Legends tournament, or whatever world championship,
The international?
the international,
Yeah.
Not, I don't think it was this one, but it was.
League, right?
I think it was
not Dota.
last year because I remember Game Informer reporting on it. Had more fans total, there and online than the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like,
oh yeah,
fuck off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fact that I don't know the specifics, and so if people have some specific differences, but as far as I can tell, the $18 million prize pool that these guys got $6 million out of came from people buying the compendium for the International on Steam to watch Dota 2.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't require fucking Red Bull and Gatorade to come sponsor your bullshit.
Nope.
It was sponsored by the fans and then given to the best. Like, it is the very definition of like a meritocracy and a like. I love it. Like, I think it's great. And I need to try. Someday I'm going to carve out some time to get.
I'm serious. Like,
those. Why am I?
I know there's
myself?
probably more people behind, but that's 5 guys standing right there.
Yep.
And I'm going to do that math when I get home. For real, man. That's like.
There's probably some alternates in there, but yeah.
Jeez. To
5,
me, that's awesome.
5 people on a team.
Like, like little Aaron playing Mortal Kombat when he's not supposed to. When his big brother is like asleep, and his parents are like, "You can't play that unless your big brother's right there with you." Like, it's like looking at it like the ESL and like Evo and all these other tournaments that happen throughout the year, and like for me, like the Dotas and the League of Legends and all that stuff like that. I haven't even touched that.
Yeah,
I know people who play. I know every time I go on Twitch, Dota and League of Legends are like the
number
first
1,
two.
number 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm just like, maybe one day if I'm like really bored, I'll click on one of those. But I also know I have friends who personally play this stuff, and I'm just like, it's a world that I'm not ready for, because like the Evos and the Street Fighters and the Mortal Kombat's and the Killer Instincts, those are games I'm used to. And like, even though those still like blow me away in like the magnitude that they're followed, something to be bigger than the Super Bowl.
Well, here's the thing that I think is incredibly interesting, right? Evo and fighting games they're one-on-one. Right. First-person shooters, you can have a team, but you're talking about loose, and it happens so fast that, I mean, I was watching at Gamescom, they had that whole thing where the 2 Halo teams were playing each other, and you have the headphones, and you're talking to each other, and like, oh, get over here, but in Dota, every character is different and interacts with every other character in a different way. So the thing is that if you've got 5 people on a team, those people have to have a synergy that I don't think you get in a lot of other games. Right. Because the thing is that, like, have you ever watched Dota 2? Have you ever watched the beginning of a match?
No.
Like, there's a point at the beginning of it where the teams are choosing which heroes they're doing, and it's like it's a process where, like, Team 1 picks their first hero, then Team 2 picks their first hero, then Team 1 gets 2 heroes, then Team 2 gets another 2 heroes. And the thing is that it takes as long as the timer happens, because they'll play head games with each other.
Right.
About, am I going to switch it at the last minute? Like, if I pick this person and your main is somebody who's weak against them, and you're doing defense against me on this lane, right? Then, like, you're going to need to be able to switch up, blah, blah, blah. And then each one of those heroes is, like, customizable in a million different ways. It's fucking incredible.
You just made me very interested in watching it.
Like,
I'm like, here, I always joked around, like, only my friends back in high school would get this, and like people who are around my age, because the Highlander television show came out. There were 2 factions. There was the Highlanders,
right,
and then there were the Watchers.
Okay.
And the Watchers were the people who watched the Highlanders fight, make sure the balance was like kept, and like, don't fight on holy ground.
Right.
You can never do two against one, unless there's like a major imbalance in whatever's going on. And then whoever gets the quickening, and then like certain Highlanders have the watch. I'm a huge Highlander fan, if you haven't noticed. And when it comes to video games, I'm not only like a Highlander, but I'm really I love watching video games. No matter what the game is, I'll watch it. Like, I was watching a Smash tournament like the other day.
I know you don't really like Smash all that much.
I hate it. I hate it. Ooh, Ryu's in it. I don't give a shit. I hate it. But I was cleaning the kitchen, and I was just like, I just need something. And like, the guys who were streaming Mortal Kombat were fucking boring, and Street Fighter was boring. I was just like, man, let me just look at something different. Oh, there's a Smash tournament happening right now.
Yeah.
Let me check it out. This is pretty interesting. Cool. Wash the dishes. And I was just like, it doesn't matter. So like this, I have a feeling this will like carry me well into like the 4 a.m.s.
Oh yeah,
especially if I'm editing. Just have it sitting on my tablet.
Yep. It's.
But that's it. Like, man, I want fire. I want pyro behind me, standing on some steps.
Well, plus the other thing is, I mean, I'm sure that you could tell me right now, what was the grand prize pool at Evo for like the number one person in all of Evo?
Man, I think it got to like I think it was 500,000,
but it was like.
Yeah.
Not even a million, right?
No,
yeah.
I don't think Evo's gotten to there yet.
Which is weird to me because Evo's been around longer.
A lot longer.
But anyway, speaking of esports, Here's the Storm is having a $100,000 championship in Vegas, which is good. I think Heroes has become a very niche thing. I think that, here's the thing is that like I'm considering playing Dota 2. Mm-hmm. Maybe I should consider playing League of Legends because when I look at like the breakdown for MOBAs, like League is like 65% of everybody, right? Yeah. And then Dota's like another big chunk, and then like Heroes is like a little bit, and then there's just like that one little sliver that's like everything else that's just like stacked up and down. Smite and Strife and
all those other ones.
DC. Well, they shut down the DC one, So. I don't know. This is going to be the American branch of the tournament that then goes on to face off against the international folks.
And get fucking wiped.
Maybe. Yeah.
I'll tell you what. One thing I do watch, I'd be watching me some Starcraft.
Yeah.
I'll be watching me some Star. I love. The reason why is they put them in fucking sound booths.
Yeah.
I love them like they're fucking caged up right now, and we're like front of a computer
for no reason.
Then like the guy knows he's gonna win, and then he just goes. He looks out at his fist pump. Yeah. Fist pump. I'm gonna win. Yeah. And I'm just like. I'd be like banging on. I see that.
So you be the guy who jumps up when he hasn't finished the full ultra combo at Evo?
Oh my gosh! I know. I'd make sure he's dead. I would make sure he's dead. But see, that's probably why I can't be like on like a esports team or in esports because I am that guy who sitting on stage at Evo. If I just wrecked you, you will know. Either it will be verbally, physically, or just like I'm just gonna do what I'm gonna do. Because I also know there's a big old screen that's gonna be showing us, and people are gonna be watching it all over the world. I'm just gonna look over at you and just give you a stare, and just be like, "Yeah, you up here with me." And so, but see, that's probably why my calling is to like film.
Yeah,
so I can like embarrass myself, not others.
Let's see. All right, so I think we gotta put on the fast forward button now.
Go for it.
Blizzard is hiring somebody new for a thing Diablo related.
Well, isn't the expansion another expansion coming out?
No, that's Starcraft. The Heroes of the Void or whatever, or Zerg of the Tassadar or whatever. Fucking
the Zerg of my life.
The stupid names. Anyway, there was a job posting on their website in Irvine, California. Art director, unannounced project, and then it just says Diablo.
The devil made us.
Right.
The devil's like,
El Diablo.
Yeah.
They say pluses for an applicant, and this is a quote: a passion for games with a deep understanding of the Diablo franchise. Aaron, I really hope that after
you want me to apply?
Are you an art director with the deep knowledge of Diablo?
I have a passion for games.
Oh, okay,
well, with the deep understanding of Diablo 3.
Okay. I really, 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 really hope that they're not making Diablo 4 because it's too. To me, it's too early for that. Yeah, I mean, we're finishing up StarCraft 2 finally, and then we've got Overwatch, Strike. Which one? Overwatch. Which I'm really interested in playing. They're still doing expansions and stuff for Heroes of the Storm. They've got another WoW expansion coming out. I mean, I guess so. It's just I'm just starting to get to a point with
the WoW movie and
I'm starting to get to a point with Blizzard where I'm like, okay, I know you guys just announced Overwatch, but maybe make a TV show based on Overwatch.
Yeah,
do that for a little while. I mean,
make a TV show so I can get a job.
I'm 37. I've got enough Warcraft, Diablo, and Starcraft.
I gotta chill out, guys. Come on, man.
Like, I know. I mean, seriously. Like, I'm with Blizzard the way I am with Kojima, where I'm just like, please go make something else.
Bro.
I love your games, and I'll play them if you put them out. I feel bad for you. You can be done with Diablo for a little while if you want to.
Please. Take a vacation from it.
Now we've got a triple threat of Kickstarter news. So I don't know if you saw this Kickstarter for this game called Mooncrest from these BioWare developers.
I did not.
Here in Austin. It was the weirdest Kickstarter video of all time. It was these two women, and they walk into this shop, and one woman skateboards in front of the other one's Jeep or something, or rides her bike in front of the other one's Jeep or something, cuts her off. She comes in, and the girl's looking at video games, and the one lady's like, "You looking for video games?" And the girl's like, "Yeah, I want an RPG, but it's like I just can't find one that does these things and these things." And then they're like, blah blah. So they have this conversation about the RPG that they really want to play. Right. And they're having it in front of this table that has all the developers in front of it. And they're just like, we should make that game, right? That's it. Like some concept art, some really basic concept art. That's it. So they've decided to shut down their Kickstarter, get some like gameplay or footage or renders or the things that Kickstarters need to be successful these days together, and then relaunch with that because they fucked it up. They were just like, oh, this is a clever video that we've created, and it's like, yes, but you've promised they got a real weird hard sell. They're ex-BioWare people. It's a game that has two female protagonists, which, whatever for me, I don't care, but I know some people do, with Souls-style combat in like an expansive, and it's like, you need to show people some things.
See,
man.
Video games can get away with this, and I think it's because of my film knowledge bleeding into my video game world. When you saw, I just rolled my eyes when he said soul style combat.
Right.
The reason being, in my head, like Dark Souls, that's a very
So I need to bring the Twitch feedback over here.
No, because he doesn't have any combat going on right now. But that's a very specific style of combat that can't really be replicated from anything other than truly like Dark Souls the people who make Dark Souls. Because Bloodborne was Dark Souls combat, but at the same time, it was a little different.
It's one of those things where I think that they were smart enough by making a combat system that was so intricately, because the thing is that the combat system of Dark Souls is tied to that whole wall of stats, right? And so unless you want to replicate that whole wall of stats, that's what Lords of the Fallen did, was they tried to replicate the feel of the combat without all the numbers behind it, right? Yeah. And it was just like, no,
you didn't do it.
But then on the other hand, you start to get into the situation where you go like, well, if I was deciding to make a game, Aaron, right, and I just ripped off that whole fucking wall, renamed everything to different things, might, slitheriness, fucking smarty pants, like superhero parts, right? And then was just like, yeah, fuck it, it's Dark Souls. I just renamed all that shit. You can't. Do you think people would just be like, well, fuck you, just ripped off their combat?
Well, no, I think if you put it that way, if you told them like that, I'm sure they'd be like,
that was my Kickstarter pitch, by the way.
You, man.
No,
fuck
really?
You.
Okay, all right.
Because like while I'm relating it to film, is just like, in the fight choreography world, you have so many people that are just like, oh, I want the style of fighting to be like the Raid.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a red flag to me that you have no fucking clue what you're doing in the film world.
Sure.
And that's why I say it's different in the video game world, because it's like, Lords of the Fallen, it was I could see how it was very Dark Soul-ish, but as you said, like they skipped a couple of steps in their thing. It was still fun.
I mean, it's weird to me that we've come to a point where, like, when I say MOBA, people know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Nobody's saying that Smite or Strife ripped off League of Legends.
Right.
It's just another MOBA. Nobody's saying Super Meat Boy ripped off Super Mario Brothers, even though it's the same style, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's saying that Castlevania Symphony of the Night is a super fucking Metroid ripoff, which it is, but that's fine because we don't. It's like, it would almost be like, that's a weird thing about video games too, though, is that things like Dark Souls, it's almost like in a movie context, it'd be like, well, you can't make a horror movie. I've already made horror movies, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't really know how best to describe it. All
like
I do
the
know is
slasher
that
genre has been done before.
Right.
How are you going to redo it?
it's good. I like the fact that these guys are bringing some actual meat to the table because I don't do that many
Bring
Kickstarters.
a real Kickstarter video next time.
Yep. All right. Next up in Kickstarter news, the folks that make Divinity: Original Sin, which was really interesting RPG that we played, I think, a little bit earlier this year, are making Divinity 2, and they're kickstarting it, and I think that that's going on right now. It seems a little bizarre because that first game was like a Steam, it was like an RPG hit, right? Like, I don't know why you guys couldn't just fund it, but...
Because you get a Kickstarter, and you get a Kickstarter. Everybody gets a Kickstarter.
I watched a thing yesterday on Cracked about these guys that are a practical effects company that made a movie. It was called like Harbinger or something like that.
Yeah.
Or no, I don't know. It was something else. It had like Lance Henriksen and a few people in it. And they were talking about how they raised $380,000 on Kickstarter, and they ended up getting about 210 after they had done their backer rewards and Kickstarter took their piece, right?
Yeah.
They got about half of what they actually raised. So I don't know. I mean, game development always takes more than people think it does.
You
but
gotta blow it out of the water.
yeah. Well, speaking of not blowing it out of the water, I don't know if you remember a little game that came out a little while back called Wolf: The Red Hood Diaries.
Yeah.
Well, Grin, not to be confused with the old company Grin, but the new company Grin that made this, they're filed for bankruptcy, and they're unable to send their Kickstarters their backer rewards. They said, like,
sorry, guys.
Literally, they have the stuff sitting there. They do not have money for postage to send, several thousand people. And as somebody who sent out like 75 T-shirts in a day, I could say that 1,000 packages is nothing to scoff at, shipping-wise, especially if you've got international shipping or whatever. But it brings up a good point. And what I was curious about to everybody out there, and I keep asking this, and I know I keep asking it, but people's opinions change, and I think it's something that you got to continue to think about. How upset should you be if the company gave you kind of the product that they said they would, but they can't give you the rewards, the Kickstarter rewards? Because they did make the game. I mean, it was only chapter 1, right?
Right.
And it was it was okay. It was some middleware, it was meh.
It was a filler.
I mean, it was all right. Grant and I played it. I think Grant and I played it. Somebody and I played it. It's a 2.5D platformer, puzzle solver. There's a little bit of combat. There's a little bit of stealth involved. It's like a steampunk world run by the Big Bad Wolf, where Red Riding Hood is this little Assassin's Creed lady.
Obviously.
But I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
That's young Evie.
Like, if here, let me put this to you hypothetically, Aaron.
Okay.
If you as a company have done a successful Kickstarter, right, and now you're a year into it, and you've tried to do it as best as you can, right? You've not buying Lamborghinis and cocaine and blowjobs and stuff like that, right?
Right.
And now you have a choice about whether or not the remaining money goes to finish the game or give the Kickstarters their rewards. What do you think you would do at that point?
Finish the game.
Finish the game?
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I mean, I just...
Because from a business standpoint, you got to look at what's going to give you more reward in the end as the company. Because in my head, and in my head, as a company, your goal should be longevity.
Yeah.
And your goal should be make more games.
Yeah.
With more games comes more money to make more games. And so in my head, I'm like, finish the game. If you do have a following, if you have all these people, they're gonna play the game, and by your game being played, you're gonna get money. Then you can get your postage stuff sent to them. And so it's like I can't say I don't know the full story if they're just like, sorry, we can't send it to you, bye, or if they're just like, sorry, we can't send it to you right now.
I think they're just they're closing the studio, declare bankruptcy, and see ya. But again, I mean, for my own 2 cents, I think that you just got to take this shit into consideration when you donate to a Kickstarter.
The art book is ready to be printed. The soundtrack is ready for distribution. The DVD case is ready for production. But we have literally no money whatsoever to pay for stamps, let alone print the art books and DVD cases.
Yep.
Man.
So they even have the assets put together for because it's supposed to be an episodic thing.
Right.
They have the episodes, they have assets put together for more stuff. Yeah.
And in that point, that's when you hope to get bought.
Yeah. Well, I think that what happens is that when something like this comes out, that they did their very best, and they were hoping that they were going to be able to sell more copies on Steam, right, and then get enough money to be able to finish it. But if it just didn't sell real well, which it didn't, or I don't know, maybe it did. Steam's a fucking mystery.
That's why I don't deal with it.
Anyway, so that's kind of shitty, and I didn't think that game was all that bad. Like, if it was up to me, I'd let these guys make a few more, see what happens. It was also like, I think their first game is I don't know. Anyway, we got one more, and then we're out, and then we're going to come back for some questions. So I know that you're not really all that excited about virtual reality, Aaron. I know that you're not. Well, the company
Grumble.
Starbreeze.
I do.
You know who that is?
Yeah.
That made the Riddick game.
Yeah.
Pretty good company.
Yeah.
And the Oculus Rift, where they've got Oculus things, right? And virtual reality. And the movie John Wick. Well, Starbreeze is making a John Wick VR.
Fuck you, Jeff.
Game.
God damn it.
I got this
You
one.
did this on purpose.
It's not even a real story. No, it is a real story. It's a real story. No, it's a real story.
Early.
Yeah, there's no real details. That's why it's at the end. This is just for funs, right? But they because the Starbreeze made Payday 2 that had John Wick in it.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
So let's see what it says here. According to the press release, this is off of Game Informer. According to the press release for the announcement, the John Wick VR game will be a first-person shooter and be centered around the Continental Hotel, the mysterious location in the film that serves as a safe zone of sorts for the world's best assassins. Who could say whether it's going to be a real thing or whatever? But I can totally see it working with their little controller that they've got, where it's like holding a gun and then you can aim it and you can go blang blang blang.
I'm all over that shit, Jeff.
Yeah,
that really happens. I'm letting the world know. I'm letting the select few know. If this becomes a reality, I will buy this fucking VR thing. I will.
Well, you can.
This is. Oh my gosh. One, these guys have to know somebody. For the people who created John Wick, in order to be putting, or they might be friends with Keanu Reeves.
It might be, or you know what? If I remember correctly, when Chronicles of Riddick was coming out, Vin Diesel bought Starbreeze.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
So maybe Vin Diesel knows Keanu. And he's just like, hey, Keanu, I should introduce you to my friends at Starbreeze. I don't know why he's like a German businessman now, but
he's like this.
Yeah.
Hey, Keanu,
introduce you to Starbreeze. Yeah,
and my family.
Yeah. So I know literally nothing else about this. I know that
that's enough. That's enough for me right there. Bring it on, Starbreeze. Do it. Make it happen.
You can
Make
have
it so
many dumb video time covers as you want to, but if you make a John Wick video game that's worth a damn, people will buy it. So.
I will be capping people in the damn head. And do not come in my living room.
Well, we're going to go ahead. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to answer your questions. So stay tuned. We will be back in just a moment. All right, and we are back. Are you ready, Aaron? I've got
no. I know I'm not.
This is all the coffee that I have left from my spill today, so I'm going to just it's like
it's a shot.
It's a
That's
shot of
right
coffee.
there.
I'm going to go ahead. I'm just
I
going to
hope it's just as effective as the whole thing would be. It's not going to be, but
oh, it's also pretty gross.
it
fucking
just
Starbucks.
makes me angry.
Oh, it makes me so angry. All right, so I'm in a good mood to answer questions now. Mail@rateselect.com is the email address. If you want to send in your questions, there should be a link down below. If you're too lazy to just type that in. Send in your questions. We need questions.
We do.
We need questions to answer. And our first question comes in from Chelsea, who says, hello, Jeff and Aaron. I was randomly browsing the PlayStation Store yesterday when I saw that Everybody's Gone to the Rapture was released. I didn't know anything about it except that it was supposedly a really good game. I played it and felt that it was okay. Never really heard of walking simulators before, and while the story was pretty good, I just felt it was boring after around hour or two of walking around. How do you feel about walking simulators and or Everybody's Gone to the Rapture if you've had a chance to play it? Thank you, Chelsea. So I don't know, Aaron. What's been your? Have you played that many Quotey Fingers walking simulators?
I mean, the one game that pops in my head is Heavy Rain.
No,
because you got to walk around and just go to different clues.
No,
and
this
stuff.
is more like Dear Esther or Gone Home, where like primarily there is your interaction with the environment is primarily just seeing a story happen or picking up like notes and reading them or things like that. That's what Everybody's Gone to the Rapture is that it's...
Then no. I have never played a walking simulator.
Okay. What do you think about that as a concept?
Sounds really boring.
Okay. So for...
for me personally, it would have to have a really outstanding story.
That's kind of the whole point of them, right?
Yeah.
I haven't played Dear Esther, so I couldn't tell you. But like Gone Home is a story where you play as this woman who's come back from a vacation, I guess, and she comes to her house and there's nobody there. And so you're kind of walking around, like looking at these pieces of paper and like phone
PT,
messages,
like PT demo,
kind of like PT, except that like there isn't as many. Like PT technically has a little bit more interactivity because of
the
jump scares, and then like there's places there where I was actually watching. I was showing my friend Aaron who was staying with me. We call him Evil Aaron, so I'll call him that from now on.
Yeah.
Like in PT, there's
is he white, Jeff?
Yes, he is.
You just call him
White Aaron.
Yeah.
there's some level of interactivity, like in PT where you like punch a hole in the picture,
right.
You got to like look through a certain thing, right, or open a door. And I mean, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. It's like
just walking.
Well, here's the premise of it is that I haven't. We played it for the dojo, and I obviously don't have as much time to like pay full attention. We're dojoing, right?
Right.
But the premise of it is that you wake up in this little English countryside, and everybody's gone, and so there's like but there's these like swirls of light that when you like kind of zoom in on them, they'll become these like light silhouettes of people having a conversation where you can kind of see what has happened. And it's kind of a mystery. Like, is there the very first thing that you find out is that there was something that happened here, but they are very vague about what it is. And so you walk around and you're trying to figure out what happened, and
that's an ongoing thing in entertainment now, because like there's The Leftovers that's on HBO.
Oh yeah,
and it's like, what's happened?
Yeah.
So
I mean, that was the whole story with Gone Home, and a lot of people, and I think that what it really comes down to is because I know that there were a lot of people, especially with, even in the dojo that we did for Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, people were like, "This is a fucking boring game,"
right? And
I think that what it really depends on is your expectation when you go into the game,
right?
I feel like if you are when you went to the PlayStation Store, if Everybody's Gone to the Rapture was listed under like action, adventure, puzzle, walking simulator, right? Or like heavy story base, right? That I think it's got a time and a place, because the interactivity still gives you more agency than like watching a thing does, where you can go where you want to and do what you want to.
Even in the title for me, like, because like, I always say, like, never go into anything having an expectation, because then most of the time, it's not going to meet it, or it's that spectrum, because there is no in between.
Sure.
There's like, it's either going to meet your expectation, or it's going to exceed your expectation, or it's going to completely be below your there's three. There's three points. And so it's like looking at titles of video games, God of War.
Right.
You automatically like, oh, well, there better be some murder going on, or it's going to be a World War II simulator. Who knows? You don't know.
Yeah.
Reliving Hiroshima, because like everybody says that America was this monster,
right?
And so it's like, and like that's where my head goes.
Yeah.
And so many things can be said if you just have God of War, but you don't have like Kratos on the cover, and like if you see this Spartan warrior, you're going to be like, oh, I have a feeling I know what's going to be happening in this game. And so like when I first heard, before it was even released, Everyone's Gone to Rapture, I was just like, this is going to be something very biblical.
Yeah.
And Rapture, people are going to be missing.
Yep.
And you're probably going to be the last person around. And like, seriously, this is what I was playing in my head. And so like literally every time I saw something about it, I just skipped over it, because I was just like, it's not going to interest me.
Right.
And like,
It's one of those things. We got another question that I didn't read this week that was talking about some of the gaps in video game criticism and with women and things like that. But so here's the thing: is like when Gone Home came out, I definitely understand there was a backlash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Jason really liked Gone Home. I played it and I was like, this is fine. It's it's like 2 or 3 hours. It's not difficult. It's just walking around trying to solve little puzzles that are barely even puzzles, right?
It's more of a suspect,
right? Yeah, it doesn't come up to the high bar that murdered soul suspect. No, but it's the interaction that you have with the game is very minimal. You can't you can pick stuff up, you can put stuff down, but you can't pull out a gun and start. It's not that kind of game,
right?
And so I definitely see, and if we want to get into a little bit of the whole like game journalism thing, the content of Gone Home, which I'm not going to spoil because I think it's good if you're into that sort of thing, was very much in line with the kind of like games as art and then a lot of the kind of feminist video game stuff. Okay. It was very much in there. And so I think that a lot of what happened there was that there were a lot of game outlets that just wouldn't shut up about how fucking good it was, right?
Wow. Okay.
And then if you're, like a Dark Souls, God of War, Destiny guy, and then you load this game and you just go, what is... You just... you're listening to voice messages, reading a diary.
Right.
Like, what am I doing here? Where's the actual game? Because the gameplay loop, it's more of an experience than I guess if you want to get into that whole like, well, what is a video game?
Well, yeah,
thing,
well,
right?
that's what talking about video games as art. Like, I remember one of the arguments was with Heavy Rain.
Mm-hmm.
I think Roger Ebert.
Oh yeah, yep.
The fat one.
Yeah,
right.
No, he wasn't fat after the jaw thing, but whatever. It's whatever.
It happens.
Yeah.
But I remember that one was thrown into his face by like, this is art, because he was the one that said video games wasn't art. He also gave Independence Day a thumb down. They both gave Independence Day 2 thumbs down. Anyway, they don't know what they're talking about. That's the moral of that story. But like when you're initially. When Heavy Rain was coming out, I was like, this game is going to be stupid.
Yeah.
You're playing multiple characters. There's no real, like, action stuff that you're doing. And then...
There's a little, the QTE kind of weirdness, right?
Then my brother bought it for us, but he thought I would like it, so he gave it to me. And so, like, he hated it.
Yeah. And
my brother loves those kind of games.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, I was literally walking around everywhere like, what? How many clues can I find? And it was because of the story. The story for me, I was just like, this is my kind of story. Yeah. I love the fucked up. I love the detective stuff.
It just it depends on the hook. It's fully its quality to you is going to be fully based on whether or not the story is engaging to you.
Correct.
And I one of the things after you and I get done recording, the first thing I'm going to do is load up Everybody's Gone to the Rapture and just sit down and start playing through it, right? But when we were playing it, there were plenty of places where it was just like the scenes that you were seeing play out were more about the interpersonal dynamics of like, well, Frank's a bitch, like kind of things that was like, oh, dude, I don't fucking care about this. But I still think that they have a place. I think that you're looking at. I look at a lot of times in a video game is you can look at it in a certain way as a spectrum where you've got like gameplay on one side and story on the other side, and then you can kind of run your slider back and forth, right?
Right.
The best games are the ones that are able to have really engaging gameplay with a really engaging story on top of it, right?
Onimusha.
Right. But that wouldn't be the first thing to come to my mind, but whatever. But like on the side of gameplay, you've got things like Geometry Wars or like Super Meat Boy, right? That are all gameplay, right?
Yeah.
And then on the other side, where full story, I think you've got like walking simulators like this, or you know what? I would even put like the Telltale Walking Dead up there because
I was actually going to say that. Yeah.
It's the actual quotey fingers gameplay of The Walking Dead is light adventure.
Yeah, point and click.
I mean, I've played LucasArts' old games, and like Day of the Tentacle is a rough motherfucker. Grim Fandango is a son of a bitch compared to the Telltale Walking Dead, it's like, oh, look, I've got one thing in my inventory, and there's one thing that I can't do. How about if I use this one thing on? Oh, look, I did it. You know, but that wasn't the focus. The focus of the game was the story and the interpersonal relationships.
Yeah.
So I think that they've got their place, and I think that, again, like I always preach to the choir, just try to find out what the thing is before you buy it. Like Chelsea here said. She'd heard a lot about everybody, or here, I'm not sure. Chelsea can be a guy's name. Chelsea can be a guy's name, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying.
She's European,
whatever. But they're, heard a lot about Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. It was made by the same people who made Dear Esther and then Amnesia 2: A Machine for Pigs, which did have more gameplay elements to it. But I'm a big fan, especially in this day and age, of like I don't have to look anything up about Dark Souls 3, right?
Right.
But I go over the thing every week in like Tacoma, the game that's being made by the Gone Home people.
Yeah.
I have a pretty clear idea in my head that that's going to be another walking simulator. There's going to be some light puzzle elements, but it's going to be mostly about figuring out what's happened. So I just say, know what it is. Just go to Metacritic and like read the synopsis. Is not going to have any spoilers. It's going to be like, it's a blah, blah, blah with blah, blah, blah and blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's room for all these games. But I totally can identify with, like, you don't want to get bushwhacked by some game that you thought was something and then it turned out to be something else. So
real.
Just, see what you can. Oh, boy.
Holy jeez.
Let's see. I'm going to this next one comes in from Cameron.
Cameron, write a book.
Cameron, you really need to be a little bit more succinct, shall we say. Let's see if I can't. He's got two questions, right? And I'm going to go ahead because this kind of is in theme with what we're doing. I'm going to pick question number one. Cameron, if you want to send in question number two for another show, you feel free.
For it.
Says, hello, Rage Select. I have two questions, so feel free to pick and choose which one you want to answer, or both, or whatever. So the first one says, in your last podcast with Nick, you two were discussing the price of a small indie game, or maybe it was DLC, and how much content you should expect for the price you pay. Can't remember the exact example, but I think Nick was saying that like for a $5 piece of DLC, he'd expect 8 to 10 hours. I may be off on numbers, but it got me thinking about the price we pay for video games versus other forms of entertainment, and full-price games like the Order 1886 that get shit on for being too short. If a $60 game is 6 hours long, that is like $10 per hour of entertainment. If we look at something like going to the movies, you pay upward of $15 to $20 for an hour and a half to 2 hour movie. Goes on $7.50 to $13 an hour for your entertainment. If you look at the biggest game this year, Witcher 3, something like 100 hours long, and you paid movie prices for that entertainment, you would have to pay at least $750 and upwards of $1,300 at the higher end. When you look at this, you end up with the Order 1886 being somewhere around the same price as a movie, and The Witcher 3 being an amazing deal. Now, if we bring Netflix, okay, I'm going to skip that. It was completely blah, 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 blah. I guess the question I'm trying to get to is, are gamers justified in being mad at paying $60 for a short game like the Order 1886, whose price can be justified based on other forms of entertainment? And he says, and yes, I know the game's actual quality probably came into people's rage as well. Or are we just spoiled by games like The Witcher and other 40-plus hour games? We need to suck it up and realize that we are getting pretty good value for our money considering other entertainment options. Thanks for reading my questions. Also look forward to hear what you guys say. Cam.
You want me to go first?
Go for it, man.
Okay, you can't compare video games to a film experience.
I'd go as far as to say that, like, if you're looking for a one-to-one type of thing, I paid $9 on my Kindle for Neil Stephenson's last book, and it was like 850 pages and was like 3.5 months worth of reading here, 40 minutes here. It was probably 16 to 20 to 30 hours of my life, rolling through that thing.
He also didn't factor in concessions.
Well, I'm not. At the end of the day, I think that what it is that there. I think that it's a thing. I think it's a thing that we see a lot, especially in criticism, especially in entertainment criticism, and especially in both films and video games. And I understand. I've been saying for years that, like, I even came from the beginning part of saying, like, oh, movies and video games, they've got so many ties to each other, but they're not the same thing even remotely.
They're not. But what it's actually when you get to it, it's actually a very good question. My answer is yes. As gamers, I'm going to use the universal we. Yes, as gamers, we have the right to be angry for a full price short game.
Sure.
Because, and I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to bring back an argument.
Okay.
So you have Order 1886,
Mm-hmm.
$60 plus tax,
Mm-hmm.
6 hours.
Yeah.
You have Assassin's Creed Unity,
Right.
$60
Right.
plus tax, broken game.
Sure.
Both incited rage, both for their own individual reasons.
Right.
Now, I'd have to say the same argument is like, well, can you be mad at Assassin's Creed? It's still the game. You still are able to play, but it's like, no, this is an incomplete game. Whereas, like, for me, the Order 1886, it seriously was like, I don't, it's weird in my head. He's a very mathematical person. He, she, whatever,
Yeah.
Cam, whatever. So I can't look at it as like hours of gameplay for money spent. It's like, I just spent money. I expect for this to carry over for some time. It's like a fighting game. It's
Right.
like if you make this argument, it's like, what justifies the end of a fighting game? You beating the story mode?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
the time that you spend online.
Because then everybody should be fucking pissed off. It's like, seriously.
Well, okay, so in all honesty, Cam, what it comes down to is the entire reason that there are people like me and video game journalists and IGN and GameSpot and Roger Ebert and movie critics and things is that there is no mathematical equation. You can't break it down like that, right? Because I've bought you can go buy, there was a Humble Bundle last week. I think it was a Bandai Namco Humble Bundle that had Dark Souls 2 or Dark Souls 1 with the DLC for the PC, and I think that at one point during that it was like $8.
Right.
And you were getting like a bunch of other games as well, like Pac-Man Championship Edition DX and whatever. Okay, that's like the deal of a lifetime, right? But that, like, I've paid $60 for games like the Order 1886. I've also paid, $15 for games like Bastion that are fantastic and that I can play over and over and over again.
I've also paid $3 to go see a movie.
Right. So you just get into the position where you say, here, let's bring it back to an easier equation, right? I never really played the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare multiplayer mode all that much, right?
Right.
The story mode for Modern Warfare is about 4.5, 5 hours long, right? I think it's a wonderful game, and I think it's fully worth $60 I paid for it. Dark Souls is 4 years old, and I'm still playing that bitch, and it was $60, and it's a good game.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of times I'll see people online that get into this position where sight unseen with the game, they're like, that game's only 8 hours long. Games should be 12 plus if I'm spending $60. And I just feel like it's more about the quality of the experience that you get than it is about how long it is. If the Order 1886 had been a really great 6-hour game, I wouldn't have disliked it that much, right?
It was incomplete. The story was anyway. It wasn't complete. The end of the game is a dude sitting on the freaking spoilers. Yeah. Spoilers. If you haven't played it, sorry.
Yeah.
But he's sitting on the freaking roof looking at a cathedral.
Yeah.
And the home dude's just like, yo, man, they looking for you.
Yep.
You gotta go.
And that's it. Yep. No, I'm fucking.
All right. Cool.
Homefront ended right when the tanks are going, and I'm like, yay, the game's finally ready to start. There's been.
But don't worry, Jeff. Homefront: The Revolution's coming out. It's a completely different take.
Yeah, it's Far Cry. It's exactly Far Cry.
Yes.
That's what I mean. I keep thinking back to that trailer, and I'm like, one, don't get excited. You remember what happened last time? Not for video games, not for a company. This franchise let you down like a motherfucker last time. just give it a little sideways action when you're looking at it, right? And then 2, when the guy captures that thing in the trailer, it does the spin around exactly like Far Cry. It is exactly Far Cry.
I looked at it, I was like, oh, somebody did some homework.
Yeah. Which is great. If they just want to make the new Homefront game into Far Cry, cool.
Yeah,
sure.
go for it.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
In any case, the problem with the Order 1886 was not how long it was. It could have been 25 hours long, and it would have been still boring as fuck, right?
Well, I know people who, they're still playing Diablo.
Yeah.
I know people who are playing The Witcher and have completed it.
You know.
And they're like, oh, man, this game,
The people lost their mind for PT. That's like an hour demo. It's not even it's not even the full game. Like, it's not even a game. It's like a technical demo, and people would just
I don't know if you saw the article that people are still playing it and they're finding new things.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me.
And I'm like,
that's what I love about that though is I love it when I love to read articles about that. I love when people get excited about that. I'm just like, welcome to Kojima. I've been here for years. Oh, the cutscenes are too long in Metal Gear. Yeah, because
for real,
none of the rest of the whole franchise did anything.
That's the only time I played that game. I love the cutscenes, man. Tell me a bedtime story, Kojima.
I'm gonna be honest. Is that I was talking with somebody at a bar when the people came into town. I was talking with this guy who gave up on Metal Gear at 4, and I'm like, okay, and I said there, I was like, okay, I'm gonna be real honest with you. Level 3 of Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots is garbage. It's not very good, right? You're walking around a city and that's kind of it, and it's kind of garbage, right? But I was like, but you need to play Peace Walker. Peace Walker is fucking incredible. Because the new one looks like Peace Walker just on like stupid amounts of steroids. But there you go. There you go, Cam.
Thanks, Cam.
All right, next one comes in from Ohio Dino.
Dino!
Hello, Rage Select. I consider myself an environmentalist.
Oh, God.
However, I hate environmentalist films, usually due to how the issues surrounding the environment are oversimplified. The antagonists are often one-sided, money-grubbing businessmen who pollute for fun, while the protagonists are annoying, self-righteous hippies or magical fairies who somehow avoid the complexities and savagery of nature and instead live in peace with it. The actual issue is more complex with both sides having valid points, but because of these films, people have a difficult time taking the argument seriously and often use them to stereotype each side. My question is, are there any other issues or controversies that you think are greatly misrepresented in popular media to the point where it actually harms the actual issue? Keep doing what you were doing, Ohio Dino. That is a heavy question. I feel like Ohio Dino
I don't want to answer this
was watching Fern Gully and was just like, dude, fuck this movie.
Yeah, for real. And then you watched Avatar.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, I don't really. I mean, like, if you want to answer, I feel like this is kind of unpacking a whole can of worms.
It's
what I think I don't know if I got all the way when I was picking out questions to the bottom of the question, but what I wanted to say is that Ohio Dino, when you're talking with people about any issue, generally speaking, one, the actual talking about these issues is far more boring than anybody really wants to do. And 2, it's just way easier to stereotype people than it is. Like, to me, all of the things in the Facebook feed, all of the things on my Twitter and in the podcast I listen to come down to the minute that you want to take a shortcut in your argument, because it's all stupidly complex.
Yes.
So
it's all stupidly complex.
All right, let's leave it at that and say this one is from Brandon, who says, "Hey Jeff and Aaron, I hope you had a good stream and are having an awesome podcast." Hey, thanks.
Thanks, bro.
I've been listening ever since today's spill, and I'm currently binge watching your playthrough of Mass Effect 2, and I'm loving the adventures of Merc and Shepard. Anyway, today I have a question, but before I ask it, there's a little backstory. A few days ago, I got a chance to check out the new Dragon Ball Z movie, which is getting a limited theatrical run in the U.S. Being a fan of the series since childhood, it was amazing to see some of my favorite characters up on the big screen. It was like experiencing the series in a whole new way and was mind-blowing. Overall, I had an amazing time, and it got me thinking about other shows that I would love to see on the big screen. I know Game of Thrones did a theatrical release where they showed some episodes leading up to season 5. Other than that, I can't think of any. So my question is, what TV show would you like to see up on the big screen? Also, I know some people hate movie theaters because of other people talking and high ticket prices. So for the sake of the question, let's just say it's showing at your own personal theater. Anyway, thanks for reading. Keep up the work. Keep awesome work. P.S. Is there any chance we'll see continuation of Merc and Shepard's Renegade exploits? I'm going to answer that briefly and say yes. Grant and I were playing Mass Effect 2. I don't know if you guys are aware. Grant had a baby. But just days ago.
Yeah, like, yeah.
So, he told me in advance, he was like, I'm going to have to, go take care of my baby for a while. And I'm like, yeah, okay. But, like, I think somebody asked Grant on Twitter, like, if he got fired.
Yeah, no.
I'm going to say from our beginning joke.
It just seems like everybody, Jeff, you're firing everybody.
So let me just allow me to just take this opportunity really briefly to say that, like, when Jason left Rage Select, we did a whole podcast explaining why, and there's no feelings. Jason and I hang out all the time. He just wanted to go work on his book and his screenplay and stuff like blah 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 blah. Right. If Grant leaves Rage Select, if you leave Rage Select, if John leaves Rage Select, you better believe I'm going to come out here and tell you people
what's going on.
Hey, Aaron threw a car at my head, and I was like,
oh, yeah.
Destiny is not as good. And he was like, car. And I was like, all right, I think we have to part ways for a little while.
Take a time out, buddy. We got to take a time out, okay?
So, yeah, just everybody out there know that if there's a major shakeup, like I might even bring new people in, but I'm not going to, like, fire people who have been on the show for a year plus just be like, well, I hope they don't notice that Grant's never coming back. Anyway, so we're talking about TV shows that we'd like to see blown up to the big screen. I'm gonna go with at least one answer as one of my standard go-tos is Archer. I'd like to see an Archer movie. I'd actually like to see if they could take Archer and then like really solidly animate it. I mean, I don't know if it would lose something if it didn't have that kind of somewhat chintzy cutout movement, but I'm trying to think of what else I even watch on TV anymore. I just got done like rewatching all of Seinfeld. I can't tell if Mr. Robot's any good yet or not.
A friend of mine loves Mr. Robot, and so she told me that I should watch it, but
I'm waiting. I'm withholding recommendation until their first season is over to see if they're able to actually stick the landing.
Man, I really don't watch TV that much.
Okay.
And so, like, I go to the movies to go see movies, and I DVR TV shows so I can watch them like a movie.
Fair enough.
That's basically what it is.
Well, what about what about games? Like, what games do you think would... this is something that we used to get asked all the time, so I'm just going to bring it. It's like out of the vault, right? What games do you think would translate into a good movie?
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat? There already were 2 Mortal Kombat movies, and
third one's on the way.
Really? Are they working with NetherRealm?
James Wan is signed on as the producer, which I'm excited about because I love his movies, and he just did the last Fast and Furious movie, and like he Saw, Insidious, Conjuring, all Saw 1 to 3.
Okay,
are all good in my book. And then a sleeper hit that a lot of people don't know about, Death Sentence with Kevin Bacon.
Okay,
fucking amazing. Fucking amazing.
You just use the words "fucking amazing" and Kevin Bacon in the same sentence. I mean, I don't know if you know that, but
I did.
Okay,
man, that movie. It's one of those movies that it takes a turn.
Okay,
like I said, I like the fucked up stuff, and this one takes a turn, and it's like, yes, please, and it's like from the makers of Saw, and I was like, what? And it's like drama and all this other stuff, and then it's just like, wow, in your face. but yeah,
you know, I know that you're not a big fan of it, but I honestly don't understand. It's one of those things like I know that there are a few anime projects like Akira that they've been trying to make a movie of forever.
It's not going to happen.
But it seems like it should be fairly easy. I mean, I don't think it'd be any good, but well, I don't know. But
I'll say this: what's happening with Attack on Titan
Okay.
needs to happen with Akira.
Now, have you read? Apparently, Attack on Titan.
It's all over the place.
I mean, I just
Like,
read a whole
they're
bunch
doing
of
it
like,
wrong.
this is terrible.
Yeah, they're doing it wrong.
Right.
This is like the time period's off, and this, and I was just
But-
like, I don't. It's a live action attack. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Shut up.
I kind of, it's, anytime that I'm reading a review and they're like, I can't believe that so and so would bloggerty blog when in season 2 they didn't schmickety schmack, and then it's like, and then Frankie and Vinny and Tommy Two-Tone weren't in Attack on Titan, and I'm just like, I don't remember those guys. My memory is like a sieve. It just drops out.
Yeah, I watched the IGN Rewind Theater, and they're just like, I gotta point out this part right here. Like, these guys are like soldiers, and they're like guns and stuff. That wasn't it. I'm like,
Just shut up.
who cares?
Shut up.
It's Attack on Titan.
Shut up.
Live action. And but yeah, like Akira, I'd take.
Well, what I was gonna say was I don't understand how Halo hasn't been made into a movie yet.
It's like a
Yeah. That thing has like, you know what? And you know what? I'm gonna say this.
The lore is amazing.
You Halo fans, you can put down your fucking pitchforks now, because I just don't give a fuck, right? But I would take Halo, have somebody decent script it, and then give it to like
Michael Bay.
Michael Bay it up. That's, I mean, you're gonna want like Covenant and like, because you go think back to the first Halo, and it's like most of the story was just coming in over Cortana on the radio, right? Like, it doesn't need to be a think piece about what it means to live on a Halo, right? The problems,
It doesn't need to be Elysium,
right? The problems that the little stupid guys have, they're being oppressed by those chicken dudes with the shields, and like, it's no.
It's about Master Chief coming down and stomping on some bitches.
Right. Right. That's exactly what it's about. And like, yeah, or hey, you want to get a little bit better? Like, I would love to see
You do ODST.
Gore Verbinski that did like, because I remember he did Pirates of the Caribbean, right?
Right.
Action, adventure, pretty good story too, right?
I haven't seen a Pirates movie. I don't like.
Really?
I don't like pirates.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
sorry.
That's why we're mortal. That's why you threw that car at me. But yeah, there's plenty of action directors out there. I mean, hell, after the number that fucking James Guardians Galaxy
James Gunn.
Gunn did, give fucking action doesn't seem like it's. I mean, okay, you need a talented person to give you talented action, right?
Correct.
So, but Halo is just, it's not, you don't have to explain anything. It's just a dude in a warthog.
I'll say this, and this is going into a whole different discussion. The reason why a lot of films and directors and stuff like that don't do a lot of action is because action is the biggest budget killer.
Sure.
Because you got to have that's where your budget goes to. You have some explosions, shit. That's why Michael Bay, he's got the Air Force
right
on the speed dial, man. Right. He was like, I'm gonna need some favors because I'm trying not to blow my budget, and I know we really don't have to pay the armed forces that much
I just look at the amount of money that Microsoft spends on Halo anyway, and just go, just make it, just make it for fuck's sake.
I mean, I saw some amazing cosplayers.
They're making their own suits.
Yeah.
Fucking
get it done.
It would be like if J.J. Abrams was like, "Oh, I can't find enough realistic-looking stormtrooper armors," and it'd be like, "Really? Have you gone to the internet where they're just
fucking lying?"
Anyway, I don't understand because and I'm not even the biggest fan of Halo. Like, a lot of people are like, I mean, I know some people have been like, "Ooh, Metal Gear," and I'm like, "No, it's too up its own ass.
Yeah.
It's too complicated." Like Dark Souls, like, no, it's too up its own ass as well.
You'd have to have a pinpoint a story.
Yeah, I mean,
any game where you create the character, should not be a movie.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Here's the thing. I mean, I could see them making a series that was based in not Skyrim. What's the world of Skyrim called?
Asking the wrong dude.
Fuck.
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
You know. But no, I mean that's a world between Skyrim and Morrowind and Oblivion, right? They've got different lands with different people. You got all these different. I mean, you could basically do whatever you wanted to in that scenario, right?
Anywhere you can like.
You want to do Dragonborn, you can do Dragonborn. You want to do wizards and fucking Eldritch gods.
I'm like, that's why the Resident Evil movies work.
Yeah.
That's why they're so entertaining, because they took this one girl that has nothing to do with the video games, and they brought her into the world of
Resident Evil,
of this corporation, and then like they sprinkle in some fandom,
some references.
Yeah.
I mean that's to me has always been the thing that I've said is that I don't like if you were going to make a Halo movie, I don't want you to just make Halo 1 the movie.
Right.
I want you to show me something else, because I've played Halo 1, and quite frankly, I don't want a movie where you're just going up and down the same hallway over and over again.
Shots fired.
All right, this next one comes in from Danny. Danny says, hello, Jeff and Aaron. Danny the bespectacled Jew here.
Okay.
So I finally made the leap and got a PC and a Steam account to handle most of my gaming needs. One of my favorite franchises is the Arkham series, and alas, the PC did not get the blessings of Doncles on that one. More like the hot leftover drippings. Is this an endorsement to move back to consoles, or just Batman mysteriously lurking back to the shadows for several more months? Also, I miss your reviews. I recently played the game Gone Home. Oh, hey, there's a connection. Right. With no real expectations ahead of time. I kept expecting zombies or murderers around every corner. Spoilers, not so much. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. I was wondering if you played it and what your proper review would be. No reviews on the site. I will try to get it from questions. You've been bespectacled. Thanks for the laughs. I don't think that's a thing, Danny. Yeah. Sincerely, Danny the bespectacled Jew. Gone Home was. I think we kind of did a mini review of Gone Home, right?
You
I would probably have given it like a 4 out of 5.
But I just like how he said, he's like, with no real expectations ahead of time, I kept expecting.
Oh, well, no, it's. He said, I played Gone Home with no real expectations ahead of time. Period. I kept expecting. Okay, yeah, no, I see what you're saying now. Yeah. Well, so but see, here's the thing about Gone Home is that when you're playing Gone Home, there's and this is if you haven't played Gone Home and you do want to skip ahead a little bit, right? Just give it a minute or two forward. You come to this house in the middle of the night. The house is totally empty, and that game is like through and through got this like supernatural fake out bullshit. Like it's always thundering, and you keep getting all these newspapers about how there used to be a crazy man who lived here. There's nobody in the house, right? And there's at least one point where the game actually kind of cheats to kind of jump scare you a little bit. You're just like, well, what the fuck? And then it turns out there's not really any of that horror stuff.
It's a surprise birthday party,
right? Yay! No, I'm not gonna say what it is on the air. Anyway, yeah, I totally understand. I totally understand that. Jason loved that game. I honestly though can see why people got sick of hearing about it, because it was just one of those things where just everybody loved it, and then it was all these like, why is Gone Home like the future of video games? And we're just like, no, I want to shoot things. Anyways, is the failure of Batman an endorsement to move back to consoles, or just lurking in the shadows? No.
I'm not even a PC gamer, and no.
It's just one example. It's just one example out of plenty of Steam games that are all over the place all the time.
Yeah. But they did Batman right, though. They said, yo, sorry, take it away. We're going to fix it.
I said that initially until I read the thing where they're like, yeah, it'll be back in October. And I was like, what are you doing? There's real video games in October.
Right.
Like, there's actual...
Screw everybody
like,
over.
You know,
sorry.
Where all the PC gamers like, oh, man, have you played Batman? It's like, bitch, I'm playing Ground Zeroes and Mad Max. And that was a month ago. What the fuck?
Motherfucker, I'm already level 45 on Destiny. What's up?
I've already played After Dawn, and like you know, I mean, I can bring up the webpage, but there's a lot of things that start coming out. Hitman is somewhere around there. Like you know, there's things happening.
I'm debating on that one.
The new Hitman?
Yeah.
Have you ever played a Hitman before?
Yes, I have.
I think I don't know.
It intrigues me. I'm intrigued.
I would like it. Those are the things that haven't even been announced. So in October, Rock Band 4, Transformers Devastation, Uncharted Nathan Drake Collection, Dragon Quest Heroes, Rainbow Six Siege. Yoshi's Woolly World, Guitar Hero Live, Dragon Ball Z. Oh, that's a 3DS one. Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Halo 5 Guardians. You know, like there's some shit in October.
It's coming.
Right. And this isn't even the full list yet. But yeah, I think I don't think that Batman is any signal of. I mean, I think that Batman's an outlier. It's the only time I've ever seen a company delist a game like that and just go. Pfft. So I wouldn't worry about it, Danny.
You know why?
Why is that?
And I hate to say it, is because the consoles were doing so well.
Yeah. Well, I also think that it's. I also think that it's a matter of, for the most part, we as gamers have been trained to just eat shit and love it.
Yeah.
Right? Assassin's Creed Unity didn't delist when it was clear that it was all fucked up, right?
And then, a year and a half later, they're like, we're sorry.
Yeah.
We knew we messed up.
Which, I mean,
now we're going to correct our problem. Are you?
The new Assassin's Creed Syndicate looks good. Again, I'm giving it a sideways look. I'm just turn my head to the side and be like, all right, we'll see.
A friend of mine was just like, oh, you're gonna get Grand Theft Auto Assassins. And I was like, and I looked at him. I'm like, why'd you say that? And he was just like, man, you can hop up in a buggy and like it's like just go horse riding. I'm like,
yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
You're not going to be doing that.
Yeah.
You also got your Batman zip line.
Yeah, it was like, calm down.
So, all right, I think we got time for one, maybe two more, depending on how fast we go. This next one comes in from Dylan, who says, "Hello, Heralds of Doncles. So after playing Ground Zeroes in preparation for the Phantom Pain, I came to a question to ask. Has there ever been a series of games where a change in the control scheme in the sequels just felt weird? Can't recall the last time I played all these games one after the other, but for example, Metal Gear Solid Ground Zero's control scheme feels different from Metal Gear Solid 4 and that from the previous games. Or as another example, the change in the original Resident Evil games, tank controls to a different control scheme for Resident Evil 4 hyphen current games in the series. So has there ever been a game where a change in the sequel's controls compared to your previous game just felt weird? And how long does it usually take to adjust? Thanks for answering my question, and may the Dong Lord be with you, Dylan. What do you think?
Onimusha. I'm going to, the first three had the same controls.
They were the Resident Evil tank controls, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the fourth Onimusha had like a weird setup because you had two swords and one sword had a different power and you couldn't use it all the time. And I was just like, what just happened to hack and slash and chop them up in the air and do all this other stuff?
Right.
And so I think it's Dawn of Dreams.
Okay.
And it was a completely different character as well.
I didn't get. I don't think I even got through Onimusha 2.
Oh,
so.
I mean, you didn't play 3 with
John Renault? Nope. I'm waiting.
What are you doing here?
I'm waiting for them to do the HD collection.
Oh, man. Please preach, Jeff.
I mean,
preach. They already got
Resident Evil. Well, they're on.
Devil May Cry.
They've got Resident Evil working. Eventually, they'll run out of Resident Evils, right?
Yep.
They'll be like, what else can we drag out of the past?
They've already done all 5, and I'm using DMC in that all 5 Devil May Cries.
Yeah.
On PlayStation 4.
They don't have, but see, they don't have an actual HD. No.
I'm sorry. HD Collection 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, but that was on the PlayStation 3. Yeah. Okay.
HD Devil May Cry 4.
Right.
On PlayStation 4.
Yep.
And Definitive Edition of DMC on PlayStation 4.
Yep.
So,
is this what we're doing now? Is we're just waiting? We're waiting for Capcom to get to you.
Yeah. Because
can I throw Darkstalkers in there?
Oh my gosh! Please. Because like the Onimusha game, the fighting system came. No, I'm sorry. The Devil May Cry fighting system came from a bug in Onimusha.
Yes.
So, because like how he can keep them up in the air with the guns and stuff, it came from they would there's an uppercut you could do in the first Onimusha, and they said there was a bug that you'd uppercut him, and the demon would stay in the air for a little too long, and then they decided to capitalize off of that.
I thought Devil May Cry came from the first development cycle of what was going to be Resident Evil 4.
Onimusha.
Okay.
The first Onimusha.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time.
I'm
having a hard time thinking of that because I adapt. I played so many games that it's like, oh, I mean, I could say that like
took me the first time I got hit. I guess I was just like, man, this is weird. Oh, hang on.
I could say that I had some problems in Bloodborne initially because it was Souls-ish, but it was different with the way but even that didn't take very long for me to get. through. I've played so many freaking video games that it's like you know, Metal Gear Solid 4 comes out, it's totally different than 3,
Right.
but it's just like, all right, well, so it's a third person, and they get okay, then you lay on the ground.
Truthfully, and I don't know if I'm sure if it happens to me, it happens to other people. But it's like, you know, you play one video game for too long, you go back to a completely different video game that's not even like that video game.
Right.
It's like, oh, this is I need to get acclimated. But then for me, it's like, if there's a stint where you don't play video games,
Right.
then you're just like, what the fuck? Like, seriously, I'm about to, you can slap my hand. I didn't play Mortal Kombat X for a while.
Okay.
And
Why
then
would I slap your hand? I want you to play a lot of different games,
I
Aaron.
picked it back up, and I couldn't even remember like basic combos.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, square. Why is my time? This is weird. And then, like, you know, gave 30 minutes in like a living tower, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
there
that's
it is.
the
gaming rust. What is it called?
Yeah, I recognize that with fighting games.
Yeah.
More than anything else. That it's like,
I
kinda
haven't.
just.
I'm not touching Destiny until September 15th.
Oh yeah,
I haven't touched Destiny for a while, man. And the last
you got your 2-week shit for Destiny.
It's like I just it was one of those things, like when I picked up Destiny when this whole Prison of Elders thing was going on.
Right.
It was because I forgot what shooter what other shooter I was playing, but it's like, you know, I knew, oh, this is the double jump. All right, let me shoot. Why am I throwing my grenade?
Oh.
It's like, oh, no, wait. This
You
is
know,
how it's done.
I think that the biggest place where I've had problems recently was probably the dojo where we played the Rare collection, and it's because I was switching between games.
So many games,
Just
yeah.
And there was something, I can't remember, but there was something a while back where, you know, I'll get into a position every so often where I'll end up hitting the grenade button because it's moved from like L1 to square or something, right?
I was supposed to dash to the left.
Right. All right, let's do one more question, then we'll be done here. So
Let's
see what we got here. Nope, I'm going to skip that one. Cinematic direction. What's this one? Now it's a real simple one. All right, we'll go with this slightly longer one. Is this one? We got a real theme going on here today. This one comes in from Jason, who says, good morning / afternoon / evening. I've heard people both singing the praises of and also criticizing the cinematic direction modern games are taking. While I don't think anyone would deny the merits of more complicated and intricate storytelling in gaming, I do understand some of the criticism of games like those in the Final Fantasy series, whose most memorable moments are, ones where the target is, or where control is out of the player's hands. It can also serve to undermine core concepts of games, particularly horror games, where a transition from control to cutscene telegraphs there is a scare coming and can lessen its effect. All that said, do you think that games should continue to use the tried and true methods of storytelling pioneered by film, or would you rather developers try different methods of storytelling that only an interactive medium like video gaming could support? If so, do you have ideas on how this could be accomplished? Thanks for reading and answering my question, Jason. Yeah, I managed to pick up a number of questions that basically all just kind of like doing the same thing over and over again.
Can you read that where he said video games can support? What was that part?
Let's see. All that said, do you think that games should continue to use tried and true methods of storytelling pioneered by film, or would you rather developers try different methods of storytelling that only an interactive medium like video games could support?
I think because of it being a video game and interactive multimedia, I think it can support anything. That's where my head goes, because like with film, if it's like real people like myself and you,
right,
there are certain things that can't be done. That to a certain extent.
Sure.
To a certain extent. Video games, you could do whatever the fuck you want.
Sort of. I mean, but, you know, films have there's always been animated films and, you know, things where, and I feel like that's the entirety of like the CGI and special effects is to make things happen that couldn't normally happen. I mean, I've always maintained like kind of like my slider before about gameplay and story, that there's also a slider between storytelling and interactivity.
Right.
Is that if you really want to control where a person is looking, which is the way that books and comics and movies and all those things happen, you have to necessarily deprive the player of some control. And but I think that. I mean, I think the reason that video games are what they are and they're so goddamn big is because, I say this every so often, the interactivity of video games is not something that we've ever had before.
Right.
And I think that we're just now starting to hit the cusp of video games being able to master some of the techniques that film uses. And I think that I can't wait to see them go past that. I'm also really interested to see the backwards effect that video games are going to have on movies, because like I already know that there have been some experiences. There's a few places that are working on movie concepts. There's one, those motherfuckers over at Oculus. I wish they would release it, because they started a movie studio. It's a movie experience where you're basically sitting in this clearing in a forest in the middle of the night, and it's a little movie that happens. But the thing is that it's in 360 degrees. So you sit there and you can look around the scene, and there are things that they've done with audio and with visual cues to kind of go like, oh, you see something out of your peripheral vision. That means I need to look over here and see what's going on over here. So I'm actually interested to see what interactive lessons that video games have done can be filtered back into movies, if you have something that's not just a single flat panel to look at.
Yeah.
As far as interactive storytelling goes, I feel like a lot of that has to do with walking simulators. But then I was talking with somebody the last weekend. I think we just mentioned in this podcast, I think one of the perfect examples, even though I'm not the biggest fan in the world, I think one of the most perfect examples to this question is the PT demo.
Yeah.
Because it's using the interactivity of the medium in a creative way with the circle, right, that you keep doing, but then they change the environments and there's new things that happen. And it's up to you to make the story move forward. The story won't move forward in a lot of cases unless you prod it forward.
Yep.
By the same token, which gives you a real stake in it, as opposed to, like, I think that PT as a demo is scarier than most horror movies that I've ever seen, because because some shit's gonna get you,
Right.
and it's your fault.
And it's
not.
Well, then yes.
Don't go in there. Don't go in there.
Right.
Don't go. Why are you going? Leave this. Take okay, look, just leave the paranormal activity house and try to run away from the devil at least, like, oh no, we shouldn't go, my boobs are too big, we can't get in the car. No, just try.
But I love him.
Right.
No.
But in PT it's like, somebody told me that there's a thing in PT where like at a certain point you can hear that your footsteps are dragging like Lisa's body behind you as you're walking around. I don't know about that. I mean, I've never.
I don't want to hear that.
Right. Like all this different things and all of these things that you can leave for people to.
I didn't want to do half of the shit that was going on in PT. I just wanted to stand there. But if you stand there, shit's still gonna happen. That's the problem.
Nothing will happen.
Or nothing will happen.
Turn the game off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that using the interactivity in a creative way is something that we're just starting to see become more, right? And I don't want to sit here and say that, like, I feel that when you play Call of Duty, right, it's just like you're just mowing dudes down and you got somebody kind of just dribbling story into your ear while you're fucking killing the shit out of everybody.
Yeah.
That I think that's a very legitimate gameplay type. I do think that it's a little bit primitive, and I think that there's probably things that we haven't even thought about yet that is across. Because think about PT in the way that there is your character can do no violent acts in PT at all, and yet it's still kind of a story, and it's an interesting little thing, and it's a little mystery, and people love it. I mean, fuck, man, you look at the shit that's hidden in Five Nights at Freddy's, and people love. Beyond just the game part of it, sussing out the lore and trying to put together a timeline, and that in that way, I feel like when you start people down the road of an interactive mystery, then you're also encouraging a community that builds up around that of people who are all trying to figure out at the same time. I mean, when I beat Black Ops 2, one of the best parts of that was I went to Jason. I was like, "Yeah, Black Ops 2, right?" He was like, "Yeah," and it's like, "Yeah, you remember when the guy got shot in the head?" And he's like, "I didn't shoot that guy in the head." And I'm like, well, what the fuck happened here? And he's like, well, that guy was alive over here. And I was like, well, wait, well, what about that? And it was like, great. Two entirely different games.
That's awesome, man.
But with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Aaron, thank you very much for coming back.
Thank you, sir.
And
Thank all of you.
we're gonna try to get you over here when we can.
And
So-
I will try to be here when I can. That's the best promise I can give you. But yeah, you guys keep showing the love, and I'll keep showing the love back because this is pretty freaking awesome.
There you go. Mail at rageselect.com is the email address one more time. And with that, you were gonna throw a car at my head, right? Is that what we're gonna do now? Is this is the point where the car, and then I got to come back later
Not
on.
mine, or not yours.
Not mine. No. I got a car all lined up.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Sweet.
All right.